Chapter 1120. In the southeast of the Third Imperial City, in an inconspicuous courtyard, the lights flickered. It was not a sumptuous dinner, but it took almost an hour. Outside the courtyard, Ningchen also waited quietly for an hour. He did not take a step forward. After the two finished their dinner, the woman stood up and started to clean the table. Xianemo looked at her wife and said softly, "We have guests." The woman was surprised. She looked outside the courtyard and asked, "It's already so late. There's still someone here?" "It's the 13th prince. Maybe something happened." Xianemo stood up and replied, "The 13th prince? Then go open the door. Don't let him wait too long," the woman said anxiously. "Okay." Xianemo nodded and walked outside. Outside the courtyard, Ningchen saw Xianemo walking toward him. He stopped thinking and knocked on the door. After 3 knocks, the door creaked open. The two looked at each other without much emotion on their faces. "Your Highness, sorry to keep you waiting. Please come in," Xianemo said. "It's my pleasure." Ningchen softly replied before walking into the small courtyard. In the courtyard, the night was cold. The woman who was cleaning the table saw the crown prince and immediately bowed respectfully. "Greetings, 13th prince." "You're welcome." Ningchen stepped forward and helped the woman up. He smiled and said, "It's already so late. Please don't be offended." "Your Highness, we always welcome you whenever you come. How can we be offended?" The woman said softly. "It's cold outside. Your Highness, please come in," Xianemo said. "Sorry to disturb you." Ningchen nodded and walked forward. Inside the room, the lights flickered. The two sat down at the table. The woman brought hot tea and placed it on the table. "Can we just drink wine without tea today?" Ningchen looked at the Grand Commander and asked. Xianemo raised her hand. The woman understood and brought the tea out. "I heard that your Highness loves tea. Why did you change today?" Xianemo said calmly, "I've been drinking tea for 2 days. I'm a bit tired," Ningchen said with a smile. "Oh." Xianluo was surprised and asked, "Why?" "These are troubled times. I don't want to get involved in any trouble, so I can only stay in the mansion and drink tea to pass the time," Ningchen said helplessly. Hearing this, Xianemo frowned slightly and said, "Today my subordinate also reported to me that His Highness went to the 3rd prince's residence. So Brother Xianemo already knows." Ningchen sighed softly and said, "Originally, I didn't want to get involved in this storm, but I didn't expect that in the end, I still couldn't avoid it. It's not the first time the 3rd prince has tried to rope you in. Why don't you drag things out and avoid this storm?" Xianemo said with a serious expression. Regarding the matter of the Marquis of Qingyuan and the Northern True King, even the 2 demon emperors have suspected the 3rd prince. At this time, it's best if you don't get too close to him. As she spoke, the woman walked into the house again and brought out 2 jars of wine. It wasn't any expensive wine, but just some homebrewed wine. She knew that her husband had a lot of things to do tomorrow, so she didn't bring any wine that was too strong. After putting down the wine, the woman silently retreated, not saying a single word from beginning to end. "It's not that I don't want to avoid it, but that I can't avoid it." Ningchen looked at the jars of wine on the table and said with emotion, "Today, the 3rd prince has already made it clear. If I refuse again, I will really offend the crown prince. It's precious to send charcoal in the snow, but adding frost to the snow will make people jealous." After a moment of silence, Xianemo said, "Even if I offend the 3rd prince, if I can stay out of it, I think it's worth it." Ningchen shook his head and said, "Brother Xianemo, maybe you don't know, but now the conflict between the 1st prince and me is irreconcilable. In the days when I left the primeval demon realm, I encountered more than one assassination attempt. In fact, it's very obvious who sent them. If I offend the 3rd prince, it's equal to offending the 2 crown princes, and all the nobles behind them at the same time. In the future, it will be very difficult for me to gain a foothold in the 3 imperial city. With the 9 Serenities demon emperor, who dares to touch you?" Xianemo said in a low voice. Ningchen smiled and said, "Master is the emperor of the demon clan, but the fathers of the 2 crown princes are also emperors of the demon clan. If the 1st prince and the 3rd prince make trouble, it will be difficult for Master to intervene." Hearing this, Xianmo fell silent again. After a long time, she sighed and said, "Maybe you shouldn't have entered the imperial family." "Maybe," Ningchen said with emotion. "But it's useless to talk about it now. I'm here to tell brother Xianmo that I've promised the third prince to help him." Hearing the former's words, Xianmo's expression darkened. She didn't care about the difference in status and reprimanded in a low voice. "Your Highness is confused. Don't you see that the third prince is now under the surveillance of the imperial army? If you help him at this time, you will only cause trouble for yourself." "Brother Xianmo, to be honest, I think the death of Marquis Qingyuan and Northern True King has nothing to do with the third prince," Ningchen said with a serious expression. "If the third prince wants to get rid of Marquis Qingyuan and Northern True King, he can use other methods. Why do you have to go to such extremes and push yourself into such a passive situation? People's hearts are unpredictable. We are not the third prince, so we can't know what he is thinking. Now everyone suspects that the two sects were destroyed by him. Don't be stupid. At least, before the third prince is cleared of suspicion, don't get involved." Xianmo reminded seriously again. "I've already promised him that I will speak up for him." Ningchen picked up the wine jar on the table, opened the wine seal and smiled. "Everything has its pros and cons. Maybe if I help him this time, there will be unexpected gains in the future." Hearing this, Xianmo sighed, but didn't try to persuade him anymore. She took the wine jar and said calmly, "Your Highness is a smart person. You can understand the pros and cons better than a rough person like me. Since your Highness has already made your choice, I won't say anything more. I hope your Highness can really get what you want." The wine jars collided with each other. The two of them raised their heads and drank a mouthful of wine. When the wine entered their throats, there was a hint of spiciness in the sweetness, which pierced their minds. "Brother Xianmo," Ningchen put down the wine and looked at the busy women outside the room. He said softly, "In the entire imperial city, only with brother Xianmo here can I feel the warmth of a family." Xianmo looked at his wife and said, "If you place too much importance on fame and fortune, you will lose more important things. Your Highness, there is something I don't know if I should say." "Brother Xianmo, please say it," Ningchen replied. Xianmo retracted her gaze and looked at the person in front of her. She said seriously, "Your Highness is the most special person I have ever met. You are so intelligent. Logically speaking, your Highness should have the most happiness in the world. However, I see too many regrets in your Highness." Ningchen was silent. After a while he said, "Most people don't get what they want in life. Perhaps, I have one or two more than normal people." Outside, the sky was getting darker. When Ningchen was a little tipsy, he got up and said goodbye. In the wind, Ningchen's body was surrounded by black fog. His white clothes and white hair turned black. With Crazy Bone in his hand, the yellow spring seal was activated. Outside the third prince's palace, the imperial guards changed their guard. One group of imperial guards left, and another group came. At this moment, a sandstorm suddenly appeared. A black figure flashed by and a merciless blade was about to take a life. The imperial guards in charge of patrolling didn't even have time to react to the sudden change. Crazy Bone cut their throats and blood spurted out. "Assassin!" A general came back to his senses and immediately warned. However, the God-forbidden space sealed the area. Dozens of imperial guards seemed to have disappeared into thin air. The night covered the ugliness of the killing. Not long after, the black figure walked out and walked away. The God-forbidden space spread out. On the street, every inch of the ground was stained with blood. Far away, in the third prince's palace, Xianqing, who was deep in thought, suddenly got up and looked outside the palace. There was the smell of blood. Xianqing had an ominous feeling. He took a step forward and disappeared from the palace. Outside the palace, Xianqing appeared. When he saw the shocking scene in front of him, his pupils shrank. Trouble. In the 12th prince's palace, a cold wind blew. A black-haired figure in black walked over. He raised his hand and brushed it across his face. In the next moment, the black-robed figure flew into the 12th prince's palace. Boom. Suddenly, an aura that was infinitely close to that of a king realm expert exploded. The blade slashed with demonic chi. Blood splattered everywhere. The entire 12th prince's palace shook violently. Xianqing, so you really did it. A furious roar came from the 12th prince's palace. The 12th prince's palace protector moved and blocked the person with all his might. Your Highness, run. The 12th prince's palace protector shouted anxiously. A moment later, an earth-shattering explosion sounded. The entire crown prince's palace was reduced to ashes in the battle. A young man in luxurious clothes flew out and quickly escaped. You can't escape. A cold voice sounded from behind, and the blade light slashed down, earth-shattering. Your Highness, run. At this moment, the 12th prince's palace protector flew over and blocked the old man with his body. The black blade pierced through the old man, bringing out blood. After a short delay, the 12th prince disappeared into the night. I hope you won't disappoint me. Behind him, the black-robed figure turned and left. In front of the 13th prince's palace, the black fog dissipated. A white-haired figure in plain clothes walked out and returned to the palace. Your Highness. She stepped forward and bowed. Prepare a cup of hot tea. I drank some wine, so I'm a little cold, Ningchen said tiredly. Yes. She respectfully accepted the order. Confusion flashed in her eyes, but she didn't ask much. She quickly walked to the back of the palace. How could he be cold after drinking wine? Confused, Xiyu looked back at the figure walking toward the palace. For some reason at this moment, she felt that His Highness's body didn't seem so straight. Not long after, Xiyu walked back to the palace with the hot tea. She poured the tea and handed it over. Your Highness, if you're tired, you can rest after drinking the tea, Xiyu said softly. I can't rest yet. Ningchen took a sip of the hot tea. He looked outside and said, Xiyu, the weather is going to change soon. Hearing this, Xiyu also looked out of the hall and said softly, winter is indeed coming. Ningchen silently drank the hot tea. However, he couldn't get rid of the chill in his body. Chapter 11:21. It was a cold night. Blood splattered across the streets. The figure in luxurious clothes staggered forward, barely managing to hold on until he collapsed in front of the Crown Prince's residence. Inside the Crown Prince's residence, Xianzhen sensed something. His expression changed and he immediately rushed out. The figure lying on the ground in front of the residence was covered in blood. It was a miserable sight. Xianxiu. Xianzhen's pupils constricted. He stepped forward and helped Xianxiu up. Who was it? Who injured you like this? Xian. Qing. The 12th prince used the last of his strength to spit out 2 words. Then his arms fell, and he fainted. Ha! Seeing this, Xianzhen roared. His demonic essence surged and entered the 12th prince's body. A moment later, Xianzhen carried the unconscious Xianxiu and quickly walked toward the residence. This is... The crown princess' expression changed when she saw the figure in her husband's arms. How could Xianxiu be like this? Go get Mr. Feng, Xianzhen said. I'll go right away. The crown princess nodded and immediately left. Xianzhen carried Xianxiu into the imperial palace. He flipped his right palm, and a green pill appeared. The pill was surrounded by green light and boundless vitality. His younger brother's life was in danger. Xianzhen didn't dare to hesitate. He stuffed the pill into Xianxiu's mouth. Then he flipped his palm and condensed his essence to help Xianxiu digest the pill. The next moment, green light shone brightly on Xianxiu's body. Vitality spread through his body like waves, fighting for his life with the King of Hell. Mr. Feng is here. About 15 minutes later, the crown princess returned with an elder. Seeing the figure in the palace, she immediately walked in. Mr. Feng, please. Xianzhen heaved a sigh of relief when he saw the person. Feng Shidao nodded. He took 2 steps forward and checked the 12th prince's injuries. Demonic threads appeared in his hand and entered the 12th prince's body as if they were alive. Xianzhen watched the elder solemnly from the side. He didn't say anything to disturb him. After the demonic threads entered Xianxiu's body, they pierced through his destroyed organs and reconnected them. The 12th prince, who was heavily injured and on the verge of death, gradually stabilized his breathing. At the most critical moment, he was pulled back from the gates of hell by the chief imperial physician of the Heaven Devil race. An hour later, Feng Shidao withdrew the demonic threads from Xianxiu's body. He looked at the crown prince and said, "Your Highness, the 12th prince's life is no longer in danger. He'll be fine after resting for a few days." Hearing this, Xianzhen's heart finally relaxed. "Your Highness, may I be so bold as to say that from the injuries on the 12th prince's body, the murderer clearly wants to kill him. This is no small matter. Your Highness, you should report this to the Devil Emperor," Feng Shidao said. "I understand." Xianzhen nodded. "All right, since your Highness is fine, I shall take my leave." Feng Shidao bowed respectfully before preparing to leave. "I'll send Mr. Feng off," Xianzhen said softly and stepped forward. Outside the Crown Prince's residence, the two of them walked out together. Feng Shidao looked at the Crown Prince beside him and said, "Your Highness, please wait. This humble subject will take his leave." "Take care, Mr. Feng," Xianzhen said politely. Feng Shidao nodded and walked toward the three emperors' palace. After watching Feng Shidao leave, Xianzhen turned around and returned to his residence. His calm expression gradually darkened. Before Xianxiu fainted, he mentioned the third prince's name. Could it really be Xianqing? In a small courtyard in the southwest of the imperial city, the tipsy Xianmo was about to rest when suddenly, anxious footsteps sounded from outside the courtyard. "Commander, it's not good. The imperial guards outside the third prince's residence are all dead." When the bad news came, Xianmo's body trembled. The tipsy feeling immediately disappeared, and she came back to her senses. She took the heavy armor on the table beside her and walked out. Not far away, the woman also heard the report from the soldiers outside. She didn't stop her and softly said, "Be careful." "Okay." Xianmo nodded. She didn't dare to delay, and quickly left the courtyard. Outside the courtyard, the soldiers who were waiting saw the commander walk out. They immediately went forward and said anxiously, "Commander, let's talk on the way," Xianmo said as she strode forward, her pace becoming faster. On the streets of the imperial city, the imperial army was running. Before the two of them had gone far, another imperial army soldier quickly walked over. When he saw Xianmo, he hurried forward and said, "Grand Commander, something has happened." Xianmo lightly nodded and said, "No need to say more. I already know. Let's go to the third prince's residence now." "The third prince's residence?" The soldier was puzzled. "Why are we going there? Shouldn't we go to the 12th prince's residence first?" "The 12th prince?" Xianmo frowned and said, "What do you mean? Explain." "Commander, have you not received the report yet?" The soldier looked at the imperial guard beside Xianmo and said, "The 12th prince's residence was attacked by assassins. The 12th prince escaped, but it's still unknown whether he's dead or alive." "What?" Xianmo's expression changed. "Something happened to the 12th prince? Let's go to the 12th prince's residence first." Xianmo's expression darkened. She quickly changed her direction and walked toward the 12th prince's residence. The 12th prince's residence was a mess. After a big battle, the entire residence was destroyed. It was extremely desolate. Xianmo walked among the ruins and her expression darkened. The imperial guards outside the third prince's residence were killed, and then the 12th prince's residence was massacred. Was there a connection? Report. At this moment outside the residence, a soldier hurried in. When he saw the commander, he respectfully said, "Commander, the first prince's residence sent a message. The 12th prince was severely injured." Before he fainted, he mentioned the third prince's name. When Xianmo heard this, her body trembled. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. How could it be? Was it really the third prince's doing? Killing the imperial guards and massacring the prince's residence. Even the crown prince of the imperial family could not bear such a crime. How is the 12th prince now? Did the first prince mention it? Xianmo collected her thoughts and asked the imperial guard behind her. "Commander, the first prince said that Mr. Feng had gone to take a look. The 12th prince's life is no longer in danger." The imperial guard replied truthfully. Xianmo heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that the 12th prince's life was not in danger. However, before she could finish heaving a sigh of relief, Xianmo's heart was in her mouth again. If the 12th prince was fine, then he was the only witness. If the third prince was the murderer, Then things would be really troublesome. Go to the third prince's residence. Xianemo no longer hesitated and ordered. In the third prince's residence, Xianqing sat in the hall. He already knew about the massacre of the 12th prince's residence. The usually calm third prince's face darkened at this moment. He knew that he had been set up. The 12th prince's escape was not a coincidence. Someone must have done it on purpose. He could even guess what was going to happen next. First, it was Marquis Qingyuan's residence. Then, it was Lord Beijian's residence. Now it was the 12th prince's residence. Step by step he was doomed. What a frightening scheming and frightening execution. Who was this person? Outside the crown prince's mansion, groups of imperial guards were rushing. Behind them, Xianemo walked over and looked at the crown prince's mansion. She said in a deep voice, "Surround it." "Grand Commander, what are you doing?" Xianqing opened the door of the third prince's residence and looked at Xianemo in front of him. "Your Highness, please forgive me. The imperial guards outside your residence were killed. Not long after, the 12th prince's residence was also destroyed. Just in case, I had to send the imperial guards to seal off the scene," Xianemo said calmly. "Commander, do you think this is my doing?" Xianqing's eyes were cold. "I don't dare." But the first prince's residence sent a message saying that the 12th prince mentioned the third prince's name before he fainted. "I had no choice but to do this," Xianemo said. Hearing her words, Xianqing's heart sank. As expected, the 12th prince did not die and even testified against him. Everything that had happened in the past 3 days was like a huge conspiracy against him. Step by step, they were trying to trap him into a place of eternal damnation. "So you're all here." At this moment, a man in plain clothes walked over. He was not fast, but he attracted everyone's attention. The 13th prince? Everyone was surprised when they saw who it was. Why was the 13th prince here? 13th brother. Xianqing was happy. The 13th prince had come at this time. "Greetings, Your Highness." Xianemo and the imperial guards bowed respectfully. "Rise," Ningchen said calmly. He looked at Xianemo and smiled. "Brother Xianemo, what are you doing? You sent troops to surround the residence. That's not a small crime." "Your Highness, you don't know. 2 hours ago, the imperial guards outside the third prince's residence were all killed. Not long after, the 12th prince's residence was destroyed. The 12th prince was seriously injured. Before he fainted, he testified against the third prince." "I'm just following the rules," Xianemo said seriously. "The 12th prince testified against the third prince?" Ningchen was surprised. "How is that possible? Is there a misunderstanding? Did the 12th prince say that the third prince tried to kill him?" Xianemo frowned and said, "No, the 12th prince only mentioned the third prince's name. He fainted before he could say anything else." "That's it." Ningchen smiled. "Brother Xianemo, how can you send troops to surround the third prince's residence before the truth is out? After all, the third prince is the crown prince. How can he be wronged?" "Wronged? 13th brother, you have a glib tongue. The crime of killing imperial guards and injuring his brothers is that the commander and I have wronged him." Before he finished speaking, a dignified and cold figure strode over from the north. Behind him, the 5th prince and the 6th prince followed on his left and right. Their imposing manner was extraordinary, and it was very eye-catching. The crown prince. The imperial guards were shocked. The crown prince had also come. In front of the third prince's residence, the 3 crown princes of the Sky Demon imperial family had arrived. The situation became tense. "Eldest brother." Ningchen smiled and said, "Framing the crown prince is also a big crime. Eldest brother, you have to take responsibility for what you just said." Chapter 11:22. It was a cold night. The 3 heavenly demon crown princes gathered under the moonlight. Each of them had an extraordinary aura. Ningchen didn't show any fear in front of the first crown prince. He smiled at Xianjun. Xianjun sneered and said, "Framing the crown prince is a serious crime, but protecting the murderer of the first prince is also a crime punishable by death. 13th prince, this has nothing to do with you. I advise you not to get involved." "What if I refuse?" Ningchen smiled. "Since you're so stubborn, Don't blame me for being heartless as your elder brother. Xianzhen's face darkened. He looked at the commander and said, Commander Xianmo, one of the two men in front of you killed the first prince, and the other protected the murderer. As the commander of the imperial army, shouldn't you do something? Xianmo sighed and waved his hand. Surround the third crown prince's residence. Who dares? Do you want to rebel? Xianqing, who had always been good at enduring, couldn't suppress his anger anymore. The pride of the crown prince didn't allow him to bear such humiliation and injustice. The imperial army soldiers behind Xianmo looked at each other. Finally, they looked at the commander in front of them. Surrounding the crown prince's residence was a serious crime. Brother Xianmo, third brother is the crown prince. It's too much to seal the residence before the truth is out. Ningchen looked at the man in front of him and said calmly, So what if he's the crown prince? The safety of the imperial city can't be neglected. Marquis Qingyuan, Lord Beijing, and the 12th prince have all been assassinated. No one can guarantee that the next target won't be any of us here. The 5th prince said from behind the first crown prince. Xianqing's face turned cold when he heard this. He looked at the 5th prince behind the first crown prince and said, 5th prince, I think you know better than anyone that trouble comes from careless talk. The 5th prince smiled faintly and said, Third brother, are you threatening me? I'm not 12th prince. I won't let others hurt me so easily. Is that so? Before he finished speaking, a figure in plain clothes flashed past. It was so fast that no one had time to react. There was no true essence fluctuation, only the control of time and space. In an instant, the sword finger condensed and pointed at the person in front of him. The 5th prince's pupils shrank fiercely, and he subconsciously raised his hand to block in front of him. However, he felt a huge force coming towards him, and with a bang he was knocked back several steps. After pointing, the white-clothed figure turned around and returned to her original position. 13th brother, you? The 5th prince was furious. Just as he was about to retaliate, he was stopped by the crown prince. Xianzhen calmly looked at the young man in front of him and said, 13th brother, you're quite skilled. It's just a trick to protect himself. Eldest brother's cultivation is something that all of us are envious of. Ningchen smiled. Xianzhen looked at him and said coldly, Are you going to protect this murderer who killed your own people today? I'm just stating the truth. How am I shielding you? Moreover, third brother isn't a murderer who would harm his own kind. Ningchen said indifferently. The situation was in a stalemate. Xianzhen's thoughts quickly flashed through his mind. Now that 12th brother hadn't woken up, he couldn't convict Xianqing of his crimes. With the addition of 13th brother, it would be difficult to convict Xianqing today. Thinking of this, Xianzhen looked at Xianmo and said calmly, Commander, I hope that before 12th brother wakes up, there won't be any more assassinations in the imperial city. Don't worry, Crown Prince. Xianmo bowed and said, I've already sent the imperial army to enforce martial law. We'll bring the murderer to justice as soon as possible. Xianzhen nodded and looked at the white-clothed young man on the other side. He said calmly, 13th brother, I'll give you face today. However, if 12th brother wakes up and identifies the murderer himself, I hope you'll still be eloquent like today. Eldest brother, have a safe trip. Ningchen ignored Xianzhen's words and bowed with a smile. Let's go. Xianzhen said coldly and turned around to leave. The 5th prince and the 6th prince glanced at the two figures in front of the mansion and followed them without saying anything. In front of the 3rd prince's mansion, Ningchen looked at Xianmo and said with a smile, Brother Xianmo, eldest brother has left. Can the imperial army behind you retreat? Retreat 1,000 steps and patrol 24 hours a day. Don't be negligent. Xianmo looked at the imperial army behind her and ordered. Yes. Everyone accepted the order and retreated. 1,000 steps away, the imperial army stopped and stood guard, monitoring the 3rd prince's mansion. In front of the 3rd prince's mansion, Xianqing's face was still gloomy, but he didn't say anything. He knew that this was Commander Xianmo's bottom line, and he couldn't force it. 3rd prince, I hope that you won't leave the imperial city for the next 2 days. Xianmo said calmly and turned to leave. Ningchen looked at Xianqing's back and sighed in his heart. Sorry, For the peace of the outer world and the inner world, he couldn't be merciful. This was just the beginning. 13th brother, thank you. In front of the mansion, Xianqing looked at the young man in front of him and thanked him. You're welcome, third brother. Ning Chun withdrew his gaze and shifted his gaze to the former. He smiled and said, I've already promised to help third imperial brother speak a word of justice. I won't go back on my word. Even so, I still have to thank 13th brother. If 13th brother didn't come in time today, eldest prince would have forced the imperial army to put me under house arrest, Xianqing said. You are the crown prince. In this world, only the 4 demon emperors are qualified to convict you. Even eldest prince can't. However, at this point Ning Chen's tone changed and he said seriously, Royal brother, you really have to think about what to do next. The crown prince has mobilized so many people to come here. I think he really has the confidence to convict royal brother. That 12th prince is a big problem. Xianqing's face darkened and he said, 13th brother, let's go inside and talk. Ning Chen nodded and followed after him. In the 3rd prince's mansion, Xianqing looked at the person in front of him and said, 13th brother, what do you think I should do next? Cut the weeds and get rid of the roots. Ning Chen said seriously. No matter what the truth is, when 12th prince wakes up he will testify against you. By then, it will be too late for you to say anything. So, 12th prince must not wake up. Xianqing was silent. After a long time he said, 12th prince must be protected by eldest prince now. It will be very difficult to get rid of him. It depends on whether you are willing to sacrifice the rook to save the king, Ning Chen said calmly. You don't lack masters. You have trained for 1,000 days to use them in a single moment. If you don't use them now, when will you? Xianqing sighed softly when he heard that. He looked exhausted. That was all he could do. Third royal brother, have you ever wondered who is behind all this? Ning Chen asked in a serious tone. I have no clue. Xianqing shook his head and said, So far I know that the person who did this is a master with a saber. But recently, no master with a saber has entered the imperial city. I really don't understand who is behind this. It's not hard to guess. Ning Chen said seriously, you only need to think about who wants to get rid of you the most, or who will benefit the most when you are in trouble. Eldest prince, Xianqing said in a deep voice. If I fall, the biggest beneficiary will undoubtedly be him. However, I don't understand. Marquis Qingyuan and Beijing Wang are both capable subordinates of the crown prince, and the 12th prince is his brother. Why would he do such a thing? A general's success is built on thousands of bones. Ning Chen said indifferently, sacrificing 2 subordinates and 1 younger brother is undoubtedly a very worthwhile choice if we can bring down third brother. Brother, you don't really think that the first prince is someone who cherishes old friendships, do you? Xianqing's expression became increasingly gloomy when he heard the former's words. In the past, he had never thought that the first prince would be so scheming. If the truth was as the 13th prince had said, the first prince would definitely kill him at all costs. Otherwise, if he failed, the first prince's losses alone would be enough to greatly damage his vitality. Third royal brother, we can only turn the situation around if we make a decision early. The first prince is gambling, and the key chip is the 12th prince. If royal brother can destroy this chip, all the problems will be solved. At that time, the first prince will be in a dilemma. Ning Chen advised. After hearing Ning Chen's advice, Xianqing gritted his teeth and made a decision. He couldn't be moved like this anymore. He must take the initiative back in his own hands. Thinking of this, Xianqing gathered his thoughts and looked at the young man in front of him. He said seriously, Thank you for reminding me. I know what to do. Since you have thought it through, I am relieved. It's getting late, so I won't stay any longer. I will leave first. Ning Chen said softly. It's not convenient for me to move now, so I won't see you off. Xianqing said apologetically. Brother, please don't see me off. When you regain control of the situation, I will bring a gift to congratulate you. Ning Chen said. He then cupped his fists and left. Seeing Ning Chen leave, Xianqing's expression gradually became serious. After a while, he turned and walked toward the back of the hall. It was time for them to make a move. Outside the third prince's residence, Ningchen looked at the imperial army in front of him. He stopped for a few breaths and then walked away. In front of the imperial army, Xian Mo felt something. She looked at the figure outside the third prince's residence with a complicated expression. In the past, she only watched 13th Prince's outstanding wisdom when dealing with the major forces in the imperial city. Today, after facing him head-on, she realized how difficult it was to deal with 13th Prince. He was eloquent and took advantage of the situation. Although eldest prince seemed to have the upper hand now, Xianqing had the help of 13th Prince. It was still unknown who would win and who would lose. In the distance, under the night sky, a white-haired figure in plain clothes walked alone. He was thin and looked out of place in the world. Chapter 11:23. The cold night was long, and dawn never came. The assassination of the 12th prince had shaken the entire imperial city. In less than 2 hours, almost all of the imperial family knew about it. The important figures of the imperial family were awakened from their sleep. They looked at the imperial city with serious expressions. The imperial city of the 3 imperial families was about to change. In the crown prince's residence, Xianzhen looked at the unconscious 12th prince with a worried expression. "Brother." Xianyu walked over and looked at the figure standing beside the bed. "12th brother hasn't woken up yet?" Xianzhen shook his head. "Xianxiu's injuries aren't light. It'll take him a long time to wake up." Xianyu sighed. "I didn't expect 12th brother to suffer such a calamity. Xianxiu's blood won't be spilled in vain. I'll make the murderer pay with his blood." Xianzhen clenched his fists. Killing intent flashed in his eyes. He had endured for so many years, but some people had gone too far. This time he wouldn't hold back anymore. While the two were talking, black-clothed figures appeared outside the crown prince's residence. They silently entered the residence. In the next moment, the massacre began. Blood splattered into the sky and dyed the night sky red. The 5 black-clothed figures were all above the king realm. Their terrifying cultivation completely suppressed the guards in the residence. In a few breaths, almost all of the guards were killed. Something's not right. In the room, Xianzhen's expression suddenly changed. Why was the residence so quiet? He couldn't even hear the patrolling footsteps of the guards. "Stay here. I'll go out and take a look," Xianzhen said and quickly walked out of the room. At the same time, the 5 black-clothed figures spread out their divine senses. After searching the crown prince's residence, they headed toward the nearby room. Outside the room, Xianzhen walked out. Killing intent instantly exploded. "How dare you?" Xianzhen's expression turned cold. "Trespassing in the crown prince's residence is unforgivable. Leave your lives here." As soon as he finished speaking, demonic qi surged out from Xianzhen. A terrifying aura spread out. The crown prince of the Sky Devil royal family was in the late stage of the king realm. His cultivation was close to the peak of the king realm. In the blink of an eye, Xianzhen's palm arrived. A rare desolate demonic qi surged around him, ancient and heavy. A black-clothed assassin flipped his palm to block the attack, but an ear-piercing sound of bones cracking was heard. The black-clothed assassin flew out like a shooting star, crashing into the courtyard wall with a loud bang. Pooh! A pool of blood splashed out, dyeing the black clothes red. With just a single move, a black-clothed assassin was seriously injured. The other 4 didn't even see clearly what had happened. He was at the peak of the king realm. He was invincible. However, as men of sacrifice, the 4 of them were prepared to sacrifice themselves at any time. After a brief moment of shock, the 4 of them came back to their senses and rushed out to attack the crown prince. Their palms crisscrossed, creating an unstoppable momentum. The 5 of them were all king-level powerhouses with the ability to split open the heavens. However, one of them was worried about harming the innocent, while the other was worried about attracting the attention of the Imperial Guard. Both sides had their own misgivings, so they didn't create too much of a commotion when they attacked. In a close-range battle, every punch hit the flesh. The fist force penetrated the body, bringing out a waterfall of blood. Just as the 4 men of sacrifice in black were holding the crown prince back, in the distance, a severely injured man of sacrifice had disappeared without a trace. He had avoided the battle and rushed to the wing room behind. How dare you? Xianzhen sensed this and was furious. He pushed back the 4 men in front of him with a palm strike. Then he flashed forward and instantly blocked the way of the man of sacrifice in black who was trying to break into the wing room. He threw out a heavy punch with demonic chi. The man of sacrifice didn't have time to block it. His body was instantly swallowed by the demonic chi, and he was sent flying hundreds of feet away. An earth-shattering vibration sounded. 100 feet away, the man of sacrifice's body exploded. Blood and bones flew everywhere, falling down like rain. The other 4 men of sacrifice were shocked. They hadn't expected the difference in strength between them and the crown prince to be so great. I said that none of you can leave today. All of you must die, Xianzhen said coldly. Said Xianzhen coldly. He raised his hands and immediately, Feng Shaoyan left. The entire palace was filled with demonic chi, which sealed off all escape routes. The 4 men of sacrifice looked at each other. Their eyes flashed with determination. Their lives were not important, but they had to complete the mission given to them by the crown prince. Thinking of this, the 4 men of sacrifice worked together and rushed toward the crown prince and the wing room behind him. You want to get there? Difficult. Xianzhen snorted coldly. He stomped his foot, and in an instant, demonic chi filled the sky. 4 black demonic generals appeared and blocked the 4 men of sacrifice. The 2 sides exchanged blows. Xianzhen activated his demonic chi to protect the crown prince residence. It was an insurmountable moat. 1 man could hold the pass against 10,000. While the 4 men of sacrifice and Xianzhen were fighting, the 6th prince, Xianyu, looked at the unconscious 12th prince in the wing room. After a long time he sighed softly. It seemed that the men of sacrifice sent by the 3rd brother wouldn't be able to break through the 1st brother's defense. Time was of the essence, and there was no time to hesitate. Xianyu walked to the bed and raised his right hand. Demonic chi surged out. 12th brother, I'm sorry. The 3rd brother will only be fine if you die. After saying that, Xianyu's right palm landed on the 12th prince's head. You are indeed the 3rd brother's man. At this moment, a cold voice sounded in the room. When Xianyu came back to his senses, he saw a powerful palm coming from behind him. Xianyu's expression changed. He didn't have time to dodge and was sent flying. Behind the collapsed wall, Xianyu staggered to his feet. He looked at the figures in front of him in shock. When did you find out? You should be asking when we trusted you. The 5th prince stepped forward and sneered. So you have been acting all along. Xianyu spat out a mouthful of blood and bitterly said. Why else do you think the 3rd brother left you and 12th brother behind? The 5th prince sneered. 6th brother, you followed the wrong master. If you repent now and admit that the 3rd brother sent you to commit murder, the 3rd brother and I might spare your life. I can't do that. After saying that, Xianyu's figure flashed. He gathered energy in his palm and struck the 12th prince again. 6th brother, you have disappointed me. At this moment, a familiar voice rang out. The door was blasted open, and a powerful force blasted Xianyu back. In the next moment, Xianzhen, who was surrounded by demonic chi, walked into the room. Behind him, the 5 men of sacrifice in black were lying in pools of blood. Xianyu steadied himself. When he saw the 5 dead men of sacrifice outside the room, his pupils constricted. How could this be? Keep him alive. Force him to tell us who is behind this, Xianzhen said calmly. Yes, the 5th prince replied. He flashed forward and raised his hand to stop Xianyu. Xianyu didn't dare to continue fighting. He stepped forward and quickly retreated. You can't leave, Xianzhen said indifferently. He raised his right hand and 2 demon generals appeared again to block Xianyu's retreat. Xianyu's eyes darkened. He looked at the 2 people in front of him and made up his mind. Demonic chi surged out of his body, and he unleashed all his power. Are you going to risk your life? You don't have the right to do so. The 5th prince snorted. He stepped forward and charged at Xianyu. In an instant, their fists collided. The powerful impact caused the entire room to collapse. Xianzhen frowned and waved his hand to disperse the shockwave. He didn't wait any longer. He activated his demonic chi and slapped at Xianyu. In the battle, Xianyu blocked the 5th prince's attack, but was unable to block the 5th prince's attack. His body was sent flying out powerlessly. Capture him and seal his sea of qi. Xianzhen glanced at Xianyu, who was covered in blood, and said indifferently. The fifth prince nodded and stepped forward. In the pool of blood, Xianyu coughed violently a few times, and he barely managed to stand up. He looked at the fifth prince who was walking over, and a wisp of resolute hatred appeared on his face as he said, "Don't even think of obtaining any information from me." As soon as he finished speaking, Xianyu raised his right hand. Demonic qi surged out like waves in the sky. No, the fifth prince and Xianzhen's expressions changed. However, it was too late to stop Xianyu. Third imperial brother, I Xianyu, am here to repay your kindness. Before he could finish his sentence, Xianyu's right palm slammed into his own forehead. Instantly, terrifying devil qi that was close to the king level exploded, causing the entire three imperial city to shake violently. Xianyu. In the third prince's residence, Xianqing sensed it. He looked in the direction of the first prince's residence, and his expression changed. In the first prince's residence, there was an earth-shattering explosion. The destructive power spread rapidly, destroying everything in its path. Primordial chapter. At this moment, Xianzhen didn't dare to hold back. He stepped in front of the fifth prince and released all his cultivation. The power of his small world descended to block the terrifying shockwave. After the earth-shattering explosion, blood splashed into the air. Xianzhen took several steps back. He had to bear the brunt of the explosion of the Sky Demon Prince, who was close to the King realm. Even someone as strong as Xianzhen couldn't escape unscathed. Behind them, the fifth prince supported Xianzhen and asked anxiously, "Brother, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Xianzhen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He looked at the destroyed residence with a complicated expression. He didn't know why Xianyu was so loyal to the third prince, but Xianyu's performance today was worthy of respect. Tell the two demonic emperors what happened today. Don't exaggerate. Tell them what happened, Xianzhen said calmly. Understood. The fifth prince replied respectfully. At the same time, in the 13th prince's residence, Ning Chun, who had just returned, looked in the direction of the first prince's residence. It turned out that Xianyu was a spy that the third prince had placed beside the first prince. Unfortunately, this pawn could have been more useful. Now that Xianyu was dead, the third prince's situation would be even worse. However, it was enough. If Xianqing wanted to protect himself, he had to fight back crazily and fight for the slim chance of victory. The night was too long. It was so long that people were tired of it. At the same time, in the Sorcerer's Sacred Land, Emperor Go looked at the shaking fate above the third imperial city. He sighed. The 13th prince was indeed terrifying. Tianqin, the war is about to start. After a while, Emperor Go calmed himself down and said softly. Chapter 1124. A long night passed in the third imperial city. The sun shone in the east, driving away the coldness of the night. The traces of the battle in front of the crown prince's palace, the 12th prince's palace, and the third prince's palace could still be seen clearly. Too many things had happened in one night. Groups of imperial army soldiers were running around the imperial city. Almost all the soldiers of the imperial army had been sent to lock down the entire imperial city. The 5 commanders of the imperial army were all around the third prince's palace. 5 kings were monitoring the third prince's palace. Inside the palace, Xianqing stood quietly and looked at the imperial army soldiers gathered outside the crown prince's palace. Your Highness. At this moment, a black-clothed figure appeared in front of the palace and half knelt. The crown prince's palace was attacked last night. More than half of it was destroyed. The crown prince and his people have already gone to the 5th prince's palace. The 12th prince is also with them. Understood. You may leave. Xianqing came back to his senses and calmly replied. Yes. The black-robed figure accepted the order, and in the blink of an eye, his figure faded and disappeared. Outside the third prince's palace, the leader of the 5 commanders, Xian Mo, looked at the crown prince's palace and patiently waited for the emperor's order. What happened last night was too big. He couldn't make a decision on his own. What he didn't understand was why the peaceful imperial city was suddenly in chaos. What was the third prince thinking? Even if he wanted to take down the crown prince, he shouldn't be in such a hurry. Could it be that the third prince felt threatened by the first Kunyi demon emperor's imprisonment? Commander Xianemo, listen to the order. Just as Xianemo was thinking, demonic qi surged in front of him. An illusory figure appeared and said, "The two demon emperors have ordered the commanders to lock down the third prince's palace. No one is allowed to enter or leave." "Yes, your highness." Hearing the order, Xianemo respectfully bowed. He looked at the four commanders behind him and ordered, "Do as the order says." "Yes." The four commanders immediately led the imperial army to surround the third prince's palace. What should have come has finally come. Within the third prince's palace, Xianqing's eyes flashed. He stood up and walked out of the palace. "Third crown prince, hear the decree." At this moment, a second illusory figure walked out from the void and spoke. "The two demon emperors have ordered that the third prince is not to leave his residence for the next 10 days. If he disobeys, he will be severely punished. Your subject accepts the decree." Xianqing bowed and said coldly, 10 days? Were they waiting for 12th to wake up and punish him? The two demon emperors were really good at scheming. At the same time, in the fifth prince's residence, the servants were busy preparing for the arrival of the crown prince. In front of the residence, the fifth prince personally came out to welcome him. His expression was solemn. Hopefully, there wouldn't be any more accidents along the way. Presumably, the third prince wouldn't dare to do anything too outrageous in broad daylight. On the streets of the imperial city, the crown prince and his entourage left the crown prince's residence and headed towards the fifth prince's residence. Just then a shocking palm strike came from outer space. Its might was boundless and unparalleled, and it shook the world. In the carriage at the very front of the group, a cold snort sounded. Similarly, an incomparably powerful palm blasted out, meeting the outer heaven palm. In the void, the two palms collided. In the earth-shattering tremor, the aftermath was vast and mighty, sweeping thousands of miles away. The shocking palm caused the wind and clouds to change. In the entire imperial city, all the experts looked at the sky with shock. Were the two crown princes crazy? How dare they fight in the imperial city in broad daylight? On the streets of the imperial city, the pedestrians were frightened and fled in all directions. The scene became abnormally chaotic for a moment. In the void, black-clothed figures rushed out with powerful auras. Each of them was above the mortal dust realm, and there were even king realm auras hidden among them. They rushed towards the group below. In the carriage at the very front of the group, demonic qi soared into the sky. Xianzhen appeared and blasted out a palm strike. The sky changed color. As an expert who was close to the peak of the king realm, his aura was extremely powerful. His palm strike could destroy heaven and earth. Dozens of black-clothed figures were swallowed up. However, in the turbulent aftermath, 3 powerful figures rushed out and blocked the crown prince's palm strike. They continued to rush towards the carriage in the middle of the group. "You have made me angry." The successive assassinations infuriated the crown prince of the celestial devil clan. He took a step forward and faced the 3 king realm men of sacrifice. "You two hold him back," one of the 3 said with a voice transmission. His body moved even faster as he condensed yuan energy in his palm and blasted it towards the carriage below. The other 2 men of sacrifice stopped and used all their strength to block the crown prince in front of them. The 3 kings fought. The aftermath was earth-shattering. The 2 king realm men of sacrifice took several steps back. Their black robes were dyed red. However, after a moment of obstruction, one of the king realm men of sacrifice had already reached the carriage below. He slammed his palm down, causing the sky to change color. Boom! At this moment, an unprecedented palm strike shot up from the carriage below and met the king realm man. Caught off guard, the king realm man of sacrifice on the carriage grunted and was blasted hundreds of feet away. "After what happened last night, do you think I'm still unprepared?" In the void, Xianzhen looked at the 3 in front of him and said coldly, "Retreat." After the surprise attack failed, the 3 king realm men of sacrifice immediately retreated without hesitation. In order to prevent further changes, Xianzhen watched the 3 of them leave and did not chase after them. Treacherous villains, causing chaos in the imperial city. Unforgivable. At this moment, demonic aura filled the sky. A terrifying aura that could suppress the 9 heavens and 10 lands descended. The next moment, a giant palm fell from the sky and slammed toward the 3. The demonic emperor. The 3 king realm men of sacrifice looked back at the sky in shock. There was no suspense. Facing the might of the demonic emperor, the 3 of them did not even have the chance to fight back. Their bodies exploded, and blood and bones flew everywhere like rain. After the palm strike, the demonic clouds in the sky dissipated, and the demonic emperor's might disappeared. In the 3rd crown prince's residence, Xianqing clenched his fists. Good, very good. Even the demonic emperor had intervened. This time, they really wanted to kill him. In the 13th crown prince's residence, Ningchen stood in front of the hall and saw everything that happened in the imperial city. It seemed that the current situation did not need his help anymore. The demonic emperor's intervention meant that the 3rd crown prince had no way out. He had to lose. Demonic Emperor Kuan I was trapped in the easternmost land and would not be able to return in a short time. The balance between the 3 demonic emperors had been broken. If Xianqing was defeated now, the 1st crown prince would inherit the throne. The 12th prince could not stay in a coma forever. It would take at least 3 days and at most 10 days. This was the last time the 3rd crown prince had. Once the 12th prince woke up, everything would be too late. 13th prince. In the sky, rays of light gathered, and an illusory figure walked out. He looked very old. Even though he was an emperor realm cultivator who had peeked into the heavens for many years, he could not stop the heavens from punishing him. Senior Go Huang. Ningchen bowed respectfully. I have seen the 13th prince's help. Thank you, Go Huang said. Senior Go Huang, please fulfill your promise and prepare to send your troops, Ningchen said calmly. The sorcerer tribe has made all the preparations. We are just waiting for your news, Go Huang said softly. The imperial city will be in chaos in 10 days at most. Then the sorcerer tribe will attack, Ningchen said seriously. I will wait for the arrival of this day. After saying that, Go Huang's figure in the sky gradually faded away and disappeared. In the outer heavens, in the moon-worshipping clan, in front of millions of moon-worshipping clan's members, a beautiful woman lay quietly on an altar. Her body was bathed in divine moonlight, and she had yet to wake up even after a year had passed. Below the altar, Mu Qingxue and Ah Man looked at the girl on the altar with unconcealable worry in their eyes. Why hasn't Yin Er woken up after such a long time? After the Phoenix Nirvana, she gave her life force to her disciple without asking for anything in return. In the past, Marquis Victorious returned, and the others were like this. Today Jiming was the same. In front of the altar, thousands of moon-worshipping tribesmen prayed day and night. They understood that the high priest had sacrificed his own life to save this young lady. Only when this young lady woke up would the high priest's sacrifice not be in vain. The pure and kind moon-worshipping clan members, the untainted moon-worshipping holy ground, the last pure land in the world. In front of everyone, Mu Qingxue looked back at the moon-worshipping clan members behind him and sighed inwardly. Is this the pure land he is protecting? In his heart, what he wants the most is peace. Sister Mu, he might have gone to the devil domain. A man said softly from the side. And Mu Qingxue nodded and said, with his character, he won't allow the 100 races to threaten the inner world. There are too many memories he can't let go of. 100 years have passed, but he is still so willful. As they spoke, a green lotus appeared in the sky above the moon-worshipping holy ground. The clear sky lotus's aura spread out, holy and powerful. When the green lotus appeared, the yellow springs forbidden land that sealed the moon-worshipping clan couldn't stop it. A beautiful figure walked out and walked towards the altar. Sister Qing Ning. Below the altar, a man's face lit up when she saw the person who had arrived. Qing Ning walked over and rubbed the girl's hair. She smiled and said, long time no see. Beside her, Mu Qingxue nodded and stepped aside. She knew that Miss Qing Ning held an irreplaceable position in Ning Chen's heart. A man couldn't, and neither could she. Do you remember? Qing Ning asked softly. No. Mu Qingxue shook her head. If you can't remember, then forget it. If you want to know something, let him tell you. Qingning smiled and said. She walked towards a white-haired old woman in front of the moon-worshipping clan and said, I am Ning Chen's elder sister. I came to see this little girl. Miss, please. The white-haired old woman didn't stop Qingning and said politely, Many thanks. Qingning nodded and walked up to the altar. Looking at Yin, who was bathed in the moonlight, a gentle expression appeared on her beautiful face. After not seeing her for so long, Yin didn't seem to have changed. The fate that he had inadvertently formed in the past tied him and this child together. It was worth it for him to sacrifice his phoenix body to save Yin, and it was something he should do. As a master, if he couldn't even protect his own disciple, then the title of master was undeserved. Chapter 11:25. In the Reverence Moon ancient land, the green lotus descended, and Qingning, who had been away from the secular world for a long time, appeared. On the altar, Yin was sleeping peacefully. Her severely injured body was gradually recovering under the effect of the phoenix essence, and her aura was stabilizing. Qingning went forward and checked the girl's condition. She understood. Yin's injuries were more serious than expected. Fortunately, her master stabilized her injuries with the phoenix essence in time. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Even so, Yin's body would be greatly affected after she woke up. However, as long as she could wake up, they could think of other ways. Thinking of this, green flames rose around Qingning's body, and Buddhist flames spread, engulfing the girl in front of her. The Buddhist flames refined her body, and a shocking heat wave surged. Below the altar, Man and Mu Qingxue took 2 steps back. On the altar, the Buddhist flames stimulated Yin, and a phoenix phantom appeared around her. Phoenix cries rang out, as if she was being reborn in flames. You brought her out of the inner world to teach her. Since you let her walk on this path, you must protect her. Qingning looked at the faint phoenix silhouette around Yin's body and said sternly. With the help of the clear sky lotus breath and the Buddhist flames, the phoenix screeched, and endless phoenix flames rose and condensed into form. The figure with red hair and red clothes was illusory and difficult to distinguish. She looked at the disciple in front of her with a touch of gentleness in her eyes. Let's meet again if fate wills it. The last words echoed in everyone's ears. In the next moment, the red clothes scattered, turning into starlight and entering Yin's body. Below the altar, a touch of sadness flashed in Man's eyes. 10 years had passed, and when they met again, he didn't even have time to look at her. On the side, Mu Qingxue calmly looked at the disappearing red figure on the altar, and his expression didn't change much. Fate came and went. He had experienced too much in his life, and now, it was difficult for him to experience any more waves. It wasn't that he was tired, but that he had learned to wait. If 10 years didn't work, then 100 years. If 100 years didn't work, then 1,000 years. The phoenix would be reborn in the end. Boom. Thunder rumbled in the sky, and endless lightning and fire fell from the sky, bombarding the altar below. Below the altar, Man and Mu Qingxue's expressions changed at the same time. Mortal tribulation. In an instant, Chu Xian and the Dayan green sparrow broke through the air, blocking the descending lightning. The 2 swords shook the immortal tribulation. In the blink of an eye, 2 beautiful figures arrived at the horizon, joining hands to resist the heavenly might. On the altar, Qingning looked up at the sky with a gentle smile on her face. Perhaps one day everything would be over, and they would be able to get away from this troubled world, but not yet. Sister Qingning. In her daze, Yin sat up and looked at the person in front of her. Her eyes were filled with confusion. Since you're awake, go and help them. This is your mortal tribulation, so you have to face it yourself. Qingning raised her hand and stroked the girl's hair as she spoke softly. Yin came back to her senses and nodded her head vigorously. She immediately stood up, and was about to circulate her martial arts when the huge phoenix fire wings on her back opened up with astonishing power. Master! Yin's body trembled as her expression changed slightly. Go. Don't let down your master's efforts. Qingning smiled. Yin suppressed the shock in her heart and nodded slightly. The fire wings on her back shook, and she soared into the sky. In the void, the two swords shook the immortal tribulation, and the battle became more and more intense. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand. The Dayan Green Sparrow's sword was extremely fast, and lightning rose. Before it had accumulated enough power, the sword chi had already pierced through the air and restrained the heavenly might. The Chu Xian sword aura spread out. An endless sword light joined forces with the Green Sparrow to slash apart all the lightning. After 3 tribulations, the power rose sharply. Lightning gathered, and a divine general appeared in the sky. Green lightning surged, and he was extraordinarily mighty. The divine general appeared, and his halberd broke the sky and the sea. The two swords joined forces and forced them back. Master's wife, little master's wife. Ina rushed over and supported the two of them. She asked worriedly, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." A man shook her head and said softly. At the side, Mu Qingxue looked at the divine general in front of him and reminded, "Be careful. The immortal tribulation of the 4th realm is extraordinary." "Don't worry, master's wife. I'll be careful." Ina replied softly and stepped forward. Her aura rose rapidly, and the phoenix fire wings dissipated, turning into raging divine flames that surrounded her body, attacking and defending as one. A man and Mu Qingxue landed from the void, but their eyes were fixed on the sky, not daring to be careless. "Don't worry. With her master's protection, she'll be fine," Qing Ning said calmly on the altar. Boom. In the void, the divine general and Ina exchanged blows. He closed his eyes again and continued to accumulate power, waiting for the final battle. Palms crossed, halberds galloped, and the human and heavenly might clashed. Even though Tianyu was omnipotent, before the immortal tribulation, everyone was equal. With a thump, her slender hands shook the lightning halberd, and the phoenix divine flames protected her body. Her flesh and blood could block the heavenly might. With the phoenix origin on her body, Ina's battle strength reached the peak of her life. Her every move was awe-inspiring. Boom. Violent collisions sounded one after another. The Heaven Speaker and the Divine General of Lightning clashed head-on, and each move was earth-shattering and shocking. Below, thousands of moon-worship clansmen looked at the faint phoenix image around the girl in the sky, and their expressions were filled with grief. "High Priestess, when will you return?" In the void, the battle of heavenly might overturned time and space. Facing the divine general formed by the mortal tribulation, Ina did not fight for a long time. She raised her slender hands slightly, and between heaven and earth, wind and clouds gathered. Vast spiritual energy covered her body, and her eyes suddenly opened, and her body erupted instantly. Heavenly punishment, doomsday catastrophe. Heavenly might against heavenly might. Ina raised her hand and fixed the sky. In the void, a huge vortex appeared. An endless heavenly lightning broke through the sky and blasted toward the divine general of lightning. Boom. In the shocking impact, the divine general of lightning's body quickly collapsed. Even the god of lightning could not withstand the might of heavenly punishment. Below, a man and Mu Qingxue saw that had successfully passed the tribulation, and they breathed a sigh of relief. In the void, Ina descended from the sky. Just as she was about to speak, she suddenly staggered and vomited a mouthful of blood, dyeing her dress red. The sudden change shocked the three of them. Qing Ning stepped forward and supported the girl in front of her. The clear sky lotus breath entered her body to suppress her injuries. On the side, Mu Qingxue's expression was dignified. A year ago, when Ningchen asked the god of the Baiwa clan for help, the moon god seemed to have said that Ina's injuries were too serious. Even if he sacrificed himself to save her, Ina would not be able to recover completely. "Sister Qing Ning, master's wife, little master's wife, I'm fine." Ina stabilized her body and looked at the three worried people. She smiled and said, "It's just that I'm a little tired after passing the tribulation. Our clan has prepared a guest room. You three can take Miss Ina to rest first." In front of the altar, the white-haired old woman said in a hoarse voice. "Then we'll have to trouble you," Qing Ning replied politely. "Friends of the High Priestess are friends of the Baiwa clan. No need to be polite. This way, please." The white-haired old woman said softly, and immediately went forward to lead the way. Qing Ning supported Ina and followed. Behind them, Man and Mu Qingxue also followed. Sister Qing Ning, can Master come back? Ina suppressed the sadness in her heart and asked. He definitely can. Qing Ning nodded seriously. The phoenix's vitality was the strongest among the 10,000 races. As long as the divine flame was not extinguished, the phoenix would be reborn one day. Just as Ina successfully passed the tribulation, in the primordial demon realm, in the Third Imperial City, the Forbidden Army sealed the city and made it difficult to move. It was an unprecedented martial law. 100,000 Forbidden Army soldiers sealed off every corner of the Imperial City and searched for any potential threats. In the Third Crown Prince's residence, Xianqing, who was grounded, looked at the Forbidden Army soldiers coming and going with a cold expression. Now he was more and more convinced that everything that had happened in the past few days was a scheme set up by the first prince. Even the 2 demon emperors were involved. His father was not around, and the balance of power was tilted. He might have become a sacrificial lamb. He could not sit still and wait for death. He definitely could not. At the same time, in the 13th Crown Prince's residence, Ningchen stood in front of the hall with a cold gaze. The onlookers could see more clearly than the players involved. The Third Crown Prince had started to become impatient and had made a series of moves. Attacking the First Crown Prince's carriage in broad daylight had undoubtedly crossed the bottom line of the 2 demon emperors. Xianqing's situation would become even more difficult. However, the more the 2 demon emperors and the First Crown Prince pressured him, the more intense Xianqing's resistance would be. Even a rabbit would bite when cornered, let alone a fully fledged heavenly demon crown prince. Without Demon Emperor Kuan-Yi around, Xianqing's sense of danger would undoubtedly be unprecedentedly strong. Now, it was up to the Third Crown Prince to fight back. Right now the key to everything was the 12th Prince. Xianxio's existence was like a thorn in the Third Crown Prince's heart. If he could not pull it out, the Third Crown Prince would not be at ease. In the 5th Crown Prince's residence, the First Crown Prince's group arrived. An unfamiliar figure walked out of the 12th Prince's carriage. His aura was extremely strong, and it attracted everyone's attention. This is? The 5th Crown Prince asked with a puzzled expression. Xianluo, the current lord of the Southwest King's territory. Xianzhen introduced. Oh. Hearing this, the 5th Crown Prince's eyes flashed. Was this the new lord of the Southwest King's territory? Legend had it that this person had defeated the previous lord of the Southwest, and his strength was extraordinary. I think you're more interested in his other identity, Xianzhen said calmly. The heavenly demon's power in the 13th Prince's body was taken from him. The 5th Crown Prince's eyes narrowed. This relationship was really interesting. Greetings, 5th Crown Prince. Xianluo stepped forward and bowed. No need to be so polite, the 5th Crown Prince said. The 5th Prince said, since you are my royal brother's honored guest, you will also be an honored guest here. Please. Thank you, 5th Crown Prince, Xianluo replied. Save the formalities for later. 5th Crown Prince, I have something to discuss with you, Xianzhen said with a serious expression. Follow me, royal brother. The 5th Crown Prince nodded and led the way. In the front hall of the residence, the 5th Crown Prince and Xianzhen walked in. The 5th Crown Prince dismissed the servants and looked at the person in front of him. Royal brother. What do you have to say? It's about the 3rd Crown Prince, Xianzhen said seriously. Xianzhen said with a serious expression. Xianqing has made a wrong move, and he has crossed the bottom line of the 2 demon emperors. However, he has no other choice now. He will definitely try to get rid of the 12th Prince at all costs. We have to be careful. I've already made arrangements. As long as his men dare to come, they won't be able to return, the 5th Crown Prince said. Xianqing, I'm not worried. After all, we've fought for so many years, and I have some understanding of him. I'm worried about the 13th Prince, Xianzhen said. Chapter 1126. In the primeval demon region, the heavenly demon imperial city. Around the 3rd Prince's residence, the 4 commanders of the Imperial Army were watching over the 3rd Prince. The 4 commanders of the Imperial Army were the strongest in the Imperial Army. Everyone in the Crown Prince's residence was terrified and didn't know what to do. Inside the Crown Prince's residence, Qianqing was the calmest person. He obeyed the emperor's order and didn't step out of the residence. However, the more calm he was, the more nervous the four commanders were. They knew very well that the current situation was extremely unfavorable for the third prince. At this time, they had to be extra careful to guard against the third prince's counterattack. If a heavenly demon crown prince went berserk, his power would be beyond everyone's imagination. In the sky, the sun set in the west. The day gradually passed, and the terrifying night was about to come again. In the 13th prince's residence, Ningchen looked at the gradually approaching night outside. A cold smile flashed across his face. He was very curious. When would Qianqing's counterattack be? In the 5th prince's residence, powerful auras loomed. In front of the wing room, Xianzhen and the 5th prince stood quietly, waiting for the murderer to walk into the trap. However, to everyone's surprise, nothing happened in the imperial city until the eastern horizon lit up again. It was so calm that it was somewhat unimaginable. At dawn, the four commanders and the experts in the 5th prince's residence who were on alert all secretly sighed in relief. It seemed that nothing would happen today. Just as everyone relaxed, an earth-shattering explosion resounded in the 5th prince's residence. The 5th prince's body cracked inch by inch, and in an instant, it exploded with a loud bang. The incomparably terrifying power spread rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it flattened the entire 5th prince's residence. The remaining power didn't diminish, and continued to spread to the surroundings. It was a shocking scene. The neighboring residences and heavenly demon residents were quickly swallowed by the aftermath of the explosion. Not even a corpse was left behind. Not good. In the imperial city, Xianemo and the four commanders' expressions changed drastically when they saw this. They flashed and rushed to the center of the explosion. The spreading shockwaves were destructive, constantly devouring everything in its path. Xianemo and the four commanders rushed over and joined hands to form seals. Demonic chi surged and blocked the rapidly spreading aftermath. Ugh! For muffled groans rang out. Under the terrifying aftershocks, the four King Realm commanders suffered backlash, and the corners of their mouths were dyed red. Seeing that the imperial city was about to suffer a calamity, a powerful palm energy shot out from the 9th Serenity King's mansion. It carried a shocking imperial might and blocked the shockwave caused by the explosion. Boom! Rumbling and shaking the stars, the emperor took action. The shockwave that erupted from the 5th prince's residence was forcibly suppressed and gradually disappeared. Within the 13th prince's residence, Ningchen watched the scene unfold in astonishment. After a long time, he smiled helplessly. Madman. He had underestimated the third prince. He did not expect Qianqing to have such a trick up his sleeve. Judging from the aura of the explosion just now, it was the Earth Talisman. The Heaven, Earth, and Human Talismans. Qianqing actually got 2 of them, which was really out of his expectations. Qianqing hid the matter of the Earth Talisman from him, but today he used this trump card. It seemed that this heavenly devil third prince was really desperate. In the 9th prince's residence, Qianke, who was about to leave, stopped in his tracks and looked in the direction of the explosion, his face filled with shock. Was the third prince crazy? The northwest of the imperial city was filled with devastation. Almost a quarter of the huge imperial city had been destroyed. The struggle for imperial power, the calculation of interests, the millions of ordinary people once again became the most innocent sacrifice. After the explosion, hundreds of miles around the 5th prince's residence had been completely razed to the ground. All that could be seen was the dazzling scorched earth. Bang! 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 In the ruins of the 5th prince's residence, several figures fell to the ground. Blood flowed out, dyeing the scorched earth red. The 6 King Realm cultivators barely managed to save their own lives, but they could not save the others. Among the 6 King Realm cultivators, Xianzhen and Xianluo staggered to their feet, vomiting red blood. Qianqing. Xianzhen looked at the scene around him and roared furiously. In the third prince's residence, Qianqing looked at the northwest of the imperial city with regret. Unfortunately, he still could not get rid of his first brother. It was indeed not easy to kill someone who was close to the peak of the King Realm. He had kept this trump card because he wanted to find a chance to get rid of Xianzhen. But now he could not wait any longer. In front of the king's palace, Xianqing stepped forward and walked out of the residence. In front of the residence, Xianqing did not leave. Xianmo and the 4 King Realm commanders rushed over. They looked at the white-robed man in front of the residence, unable to hide the anger in their eyes. Commander Xianmo and the other 4 commanders, why are all of you looking at me with such a gaze? I have not taken a single step out of my residence since yesterday. Xianqing looked at the 5 of them and smiled. Your Highness, the commoners are innocent. You have gone too far, Xianmo said in a deep voice, looking at Xianqing. I feel deeply sorry for the people who died tragically. I hope Commander Xianmo can catch the culprit as soon as possible and seek justice for the people in the city. At the same time, you can also clear my name, Xianqing said with a smile. Wei Chen will do his best to catch the culprit and bring him to justice. Xianmo looked coldly at the 3rd prince, then turned and left. The 4 commanders of the imperial army followed her. They were still a little scared. The explosion just now was too terrifying. If the demonic emperor of the abyss had not intervened, the entire imperial city would have been destroyed. In the heavenly demon ancestral land, the 7 luminaries demon emperors and 8 desolation demon emperors felt the tremors in the distant imperial city, and their expressions turned gloomy. How daring! Was Xianqing going to rebel? We can't tolerate the kid any longer. Otherwise, there's no telling what he's going to do next, the 7 brilliance demon emperor said. The 8 desolation demon emperor was silent for a moment before he said, My royal brother is currently in the far north. Even if you or I were to attack Xianqing without concrete evidence, we wouldn't be able to explain ourselves when my royal brother returns. Are we just going to let him do whatever he wants? The 7 brilliance demon emperor said coldly. Xianmo and the Forbidden Army have already sealed off Xianqing's mansion. We will observe for a few days. As long as Xianmo or Xianzhen find evidence, it won't be too late for us to take action. 8 desolation demon emperor said calmly. Where's 12th brother? Will he be fine? The 7 brilliance demon emperor asked sternly. I won't. The 8 desolation demon emperor said calmly. He looked in the direction of the imperial city and said indifferently, Xianqing has used his trump card. Xianzhen and the others are not completely unprepared. The safety of the 12th brother is the most important thing now. How can anything happen to him so easily? Oh, the 7 brilliance demon emperor was surprised. No one knew a son better than his father. It seemed like 8 desolation knew where the 12th brother was. In a secret chamber in the crown prince's mansion, the 12th prince was lying quietly on a stone bed. His aura was calm, as if he could wake up at any moment. The crown prince had sent the 12th prince back to the crown prince's mansion as a precaution, saving Xianxiu's life by accident. Meanwhile, on the stone bed, the 12th prince's right finger twitched slightly. It was only a slight movement, but it was obvious. A moment later, the door to the secret chamber rumbled open. Xianxiu walked out with a pale face. He had yet to recover from his injuries. Crap! Xianqing's expression shifted as soon as Xianxiu walked out of the secret chamber. He immediately turned around and looked at the crown prince's mansion in the distance. Why was the 12th brother there? Things are getting more interesting. In the 13th prince's residence, Ningchen had also sensed the 12th prince's aura in the distance. The corners of his mouth curled into a sneer. The 2 heavenly demon crown princes were indeed extraordinary. However, the more extraordinary they were, the more intense the battle would be. To him, the best outcome would be for the 2 heavenly demon crown princes to be severely injured. In the ruins of the 5th prince's mansion, Xianzhen sensed the 12th prince's aura in the distance. He was shocked at first, but then he quickly rushed toward the crown prince's mansion. In the 3rd crown prince's mansion, Xianqing's expression kept changing. However, the 5 commanders of the Imperial Guard were outside. It's finally coming to an end. Outside the 3rd crown prince's mansion, Xianmo looked at the white-robed figure standing quietly in front of the mansion with an unusually cold expression. Too many people had been sacrificed in the battle for the throne between the 2 princes. There had to be an end. The 12th prince had awakened, and the third crown prince was powerless to reverse the situation. In the 13th crown prince's mansion, Ningchen stood there for a long time before he walked out. In front of the crown prince's mansion, Xianxiu walked out. He felt slightly relieved when he sensed the familiar aura coming from afar. 12th brother. Soon Xianzhen arrived. He looked at the figure outside the mansion and asked, "How are your injuries?" "I'm fine now," Xianxiu replied softly. "Congratulations, 12th brother." As he spoke, a white-robed figure walked over. His white hair fluttered in the wind, making him look exceptionally dazzling. 13th brother, it's you." Xianzhen's expression darkened when he saw the newcomer. "What are you doing here?" "Since 12th brother has awakened, as your brother, I naturally have to come and congratulate you." Ningchen walked forward. When he passed by Xianzhen, he paused and said, "First brother, the explosion just now was really shocking. Are you all right?" "I'm fine. You don't have to worry about me, 13th brother," Xianzhen said in a deep voice. "It's good that you're fine." Ningchen smiled and didn't say anything else. He walked up to the 12th prince and said, "12th brother, congratulations on waking up." "Thank you," Xianxiu replied coldly. Ningchen stepped forward and patted Xianxiu's shoulder. He smiled and said, "12th brother, I look forward to your performance." Then Ningchen looked at Xianzhen and smiled. "First brother, I won't disturb you from catching up with 12th brother. Goodbye." With that, Ningchen smiled and turned to leave. Xianxiu frowned as he watched Ningchen leave. He said, "Brother, did 13th brother come here to show off his power? We'll deal with him in the future. Let me ask you. 2 nights ago, did you personally see Xianqing barge into your mansion and start a massacre?" Xianzhen asked. "I saw it with my own eyes." Xianxiu nodded with a dark expression. "I will show my memories to the 2 demon emperors. This time, Xianqing won't be able to get away with it." "All right," Xianzhen said in a deep voice. "Let's go to the ancestral land and meet the 2 demon emperors." Ningchen walked over to the 3rd prince's mansion. The imperial army surrounded the mansion, making it difficult for even a moth to escape. 13th prince, please wait." A commander of the imperial army blocked Ningchen's path. "Commander Qi, I'm only here to talk to 3rd brother," Ningchen said with a smile. "The 3rd prince is currently under house arrest. It's best if 13th prince doesn't go in," the 2nd commander of the imperial army said. "What? I don't even have the right to talk to 13th brother?" At this moment, the door opened and Xianqing walked out. He looked at the 2nd commander of the imperial army and said coldly. Chapter 11:27. In front of the 3rd crown prince's palace, the 2nd commander of the forbidden army blocked Ningchen's way. While they were in a stalemate, the gate opened and Xianqing walked out. "I don't dare." Seeing the 3rd crown prince come out to greet him, the 2nd commander bowed respectfully and left. Ningchen smiled faintly and walked in. After the gate closed, Xianqing looked at the young man in front of him and asked seriously, "13th brother, why are you here at this time?" "I do have something to discuss with you, 3rd brother." Ningchen reached out and a cyan jade talisman appeared. Compared to before, it was much dimmer. "You've used this talisman?" Xianqing's expression changed. After a while, he looked at the person in front of him and said in disbelief, "13th brother, what do you mean? Isn't the 12th prince what you're worried about? This human talisman can resolve royal brother's worries." The corners of Ningchen's mouth curved slightly. Ningchen smiled. Hearing this, Xianqing was surprised and said, "13th brother, you've done me a great favor." "You're too kind, brother." Ningchen smiled and said, "I'm honored to be able to help you." Xianqing looked at the talisman in Ningchen's hand and resisted the urge to pick it up. He said, 13th brother, I can't let you waste a talisman for nothing. What can I do to help you? Just tell me." Ningchen smiled faintly. This was what he had been waiting for. "It's not a big deal." Ningchen smiled and pretended to be casual. "Third brother, you know about the grudge between me and Xian Luo. As long as this person is alive, I won't be able to eat or sleep well. I wanted to use the talisman to get rid of him, but I couldn't bear to see you being wronged, so I returned the talisman to you. As for your matter, Now that you've used both the Earth Talisman and the Human Talisman, you can only think of a way to find the illusory Heavenly Talisman. Heavenly Talisman. Xianqing muttered softly and sighed in a deep voice. It's not that Imperial Brother deliberately concealed the whereabouts of the Heavenly Talisman. It's just that this place is too dangerous. Even those at the King's domain don't dare to rashly set foot in it. I was already lucky enough to obtain the Human Talisman and Earth Talisman from there. When he spoke up to this point, Xianqing looked into the distance and said slowly, the forbidden area of the 100 clans, Qihuang Island, was the ancestral land of the Qihuang clan. Since the Qihuang clan was annihilated, no one has been able to enter this place. In the past thousands of years, countless top-notch experts have died here. 13th brother, if you want to enter, you have to at least reach the King realm. Qihuang Island. Ningchen frowned slightly. How come he had never heard of this place before? Brother, you haven't been in the royal family for long, so you don't know much about these secrets. The name Qihuang Island hasn't been mentioned for a long time. Xianqing sighed lightly and passed over a jade slip. He said, the matters related to Qihuang Island are recorded within it. Instead of calling it an island, it's better to call it a floating city. It's boundlessly vast, and it can be considered a miracle. Ningchen took over the jade slip and scanned through it. A strange light flashed in his eyes. It was an unbelievable place. Brother, the Crown Prince and the 12th Prince should have already left for the ancestral land. Brother, you should hurry up. Ningchen passed the Human Talisman to Xianqing and said seriously, I hope we can make it in time. Xianqing took over the Human Talisman. He couldn't suppress the waves in his heart. There was always a way out. His 13th brother had helped him a lot this time. Thank you, 13th brother. I will never forget this kindness. Xianqing cupped his fists. Compared to the importance of this Human Talisman, the information about Qihuang Island was not worth mentioning. Brother, you're too polite. I know you still have things to do, so I won't disturb you any longer. I'll take my leave first, Ningchen said calmly and walked out of the Crown Prince Palace. Xianqing held the Human Talisman in his hand and looked towards the direction of the heavenly demon ancestor. His expression turned cold. This time he was going to prepare some gifts for the Crown Prince and the 2 demon emperors. Men. Xianqing collected his thoughts and said, Your Highness. A black-clothed figure appeared in the void and knelt down. Get our men to prepare. This imperial city needs to be more lively. Xianqing said coldly. Yes. The black-robed figure respectfully accepted the order. A moment later, his figure merged into the void and disappeared. Ningchen walked out of the 3rd Crown Prince Palace. Not far away, the 2nd commander of the Imperial Army saw the young man, and his expression turned serious. The 13th Crown Prince was the most incomprehensible among the 3 Crown Princes. When the 2 Crown Princes fought each other, both of them were injured. Only the 13th Crown Prince was unharmed. 2nd Commander. Ningchen smiled when they passed each other. Send my regards to the 1st Commander. You guys will be busy from now on. After saying that, Ningchen smiled and continued to walk forward. The 2nd Commander of the Imperial Army turned around and looked at Ningchen's figure. What did the 13th Crown Prince mean? The 3rd Crown Prince had already lost. Could there still be a chance? Demonic chi surged in the heavenly demon ancestors' land. Xianzhen brought the 12th Prince over and bowed respectfully. Greetings, Father. Greetings, 7th Uncle. The 12th Prince also bowed respectfully. You may rise. The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor's voice came from the depths of the ancestral land. He said calmly, 12th Prince, how are your injuries? 7th Uncle, I'm fine now. Xianxiu said respectfully. That's good. The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor said. You saw the culprit last night with your own eyes. I saw it with my own eyes. The culprit is Xianqing. Xianxiu said with a dark expression. Oh. The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor said in surprise. It's 3rd Prince? 12th Prince. It's not a small crime to frame the Crown Prince. Even as a prince, you can't avoid death. Do you know that? Nephew knows that everything nephew said is true. There is not a single lie. Xianxiu said with a serious expression. If that's the case, come forward. The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor said calmly. I'll retrieve your memories. If it's proven that you're not lying, your father and I will give you justice. Understood. Xianxiu bowed respectfully and walked forward. Demonic qi lingered in the depths of the ancestral land. Xianxiu stepped forward. The closer he got, the heavier the aura became. It was suffocating. Even 12th Prince has reached the star-shaking realm. Time really passes too quickly. A soft sigh came from the demonic qi. It was an expert from the previous generation of the royal family. We sealed ourselves in our demonic origin, so we can't sense the change of time. However, it's almost time. Once the passage between the two realms is opened, we can use the origin energy of the sky beyond heaven to take another step forward and achieve the monarch realm. Another old voice said calmly. 12th Prince, come forward, the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor said. Yes, father. Xianxiu accepted the order and took a few steps forward. The next moment, demonic qi gathered in the sky. 2 illusionary figures appeared. Their terrifying aura made the world tremble. At the same time, in the distant 3rd Imperial City, a white-robed figure looked in the direction of the ancestral land with a cold grin. It was time. With a bang, Xianqing clenched his right hand, and the human talisman shattered. An indescribable power instantly exploded in the world. Even the endless space and time couldn't stop it. In the heavenly demon ancestral land, just as the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor was about to retrieve Xianxiu's memories, Xianxiu's body suddenly cracked and exploded. The 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor and the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor were shocked. They raised their right hand and blocked the impact of the explosion. Not far away, Xianzhen was pushed back by the impact of the explosion. He looked forward with a shocked expression. How could this be? Almost at the same time, a massacre began in the 3rd Imperial City. The spies hiding in the 1st Prince's territory suddenly attacked. The nobles couldn't react in time, and had their chests pierced by sharp weapons. Dazzling blood flowers bloomed in the Imperial City. Boom. A few seconds later, a series of terrifying explosions occurred. The entire Imperial City shook violently. The shockwaves destroyed everything in sight. On the streets of the Imperial City, Ningchen stopped and looked at the explosions in all directions. His lips curled up slightly. In front of the 3rd Prince's residence, the 4 commanders of the Imperial Army were shocked. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Crazy, the 3rd Prince had lost his mind. Commanders, what happened? The door of the 3rd Prince's residence opened. Xianqing walked out and looked at the 4 with a smile. Before they could answer, the 4 flashed and rushed toward the explosion. In the 9 Serenities royal residence, demonic aura surged. The 9 Serenities Demon Emperor appeared and frowned at the chaos in the Imperial City. Was Xianqing out of his mind? Did he really think the 2 demon emperors wouldn't dare to attack him without any evidence? In the heavenly demon ancestral land, demonic aura surged. The aura of an emperor swept across the 9 heavens and 10 lands. 2 demon emperors walked out and arrived at the 3rd Imperial City with thunderous fury. Xianqing. The 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor and the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor appeared in the sky and said in a deep voice, "Do you admit to your crimes?" "Uncle, I don't know." Xianqing looked at the 2 emperors in the sky and said calmly. "Very well." The 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor replied coldly. Without saying anything else, he flipped his right hand and formed a giant palm to block the white-robed figure below. Xianqing's expression turned cold. He raised his right hand and a black badge appeared. In an instant, imperial demonic aura swept across the area and the heavens and earth sank. With a loud boom, the imperial aura clashed and dissipated. Xianqing took half a step back with red lips. Demon Emperor badge. In the sky, the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor's expression darkened when he saw the badge in Xianqing's hand. Kuan Yi had given the badge to Xianqing. 7th Imperial Uncle, what did I do to make you so angry? Xianqing looked at the person in the sky and said coldly, "Uncle, don't you think you've gone too far by attacking me without any evidence?" The 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor's expression turned dark when he heard that. He couldn't make a decision at the moment. In the distance, on the streets of the Imperial City, Ningchen turned around and saw what was happening in front of the third prince's residence. The smile on his face widened. The heavenly demon crown prince was indeed not stupid. With Demon Emperor Kuan Yi's Demon Emperor badge, the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor would be going too far if they insisted on attacking. The 2 Demon Emperors didn't have any evidence to prove that the third prince was responsible for what had happened in the Imperial City and the ancestral land of the Heavenly Demon Ancestral Land. Grounding Xianqing was already the worst punishment. Chapter 1128. In the Heavenly Devil Imperial City, in front of the third crown prince's residence, an emperor descended. The pressure of heaven and earth suddenly dropped. A black badge appeared in Xianqing's hand when he saw the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor closing in on him. A dominating aura spread out and stopped the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor's order. The expressions of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperors and the 8 Desolation Demon Emperors sank when they saw the black token in the former's hand. This unexpected change had caused the 2 of them to hesitate. Seeing the Demon Emperor's order was the same as seeing the Demon Emperor himself. Even they couldn't easily disobey the orders of the first Demon Emperor. Imperial uncles, if there's anything I've done wrong, there's no harm in waiting for Imperial Father's return to make a decision. Now please don't make things difficult for me. Xianqing looked at the 2 Demon Emperors in the sky and said in a neither servile nor overbearing tone. The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor's eyes flickered coldly. A few moments later, he raised his right hand, unleashing a tremendous demonic aura. Up in the sky, the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor took a step forward upon seeing this. Don't be rash. The 8 Desolation Demon Emperor reminded in a serious voice. Right now, he has the Demon Emperor token in his hands. If we attack him now, it will be the same as offending royal brother's dignity. The gains do not make up for the losses. Why don't we temporarily put him under house arrest and let royal brother personally deal with him when he returns? The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor's face turned colder after hearing the words. He harumphed and waved his right hand. Half of the demonic aura dissipated, while the remaining demonic aura spread further and sealed off the third prince's residence. From today onwards, you are not allowed to take even half a step out of the residence. The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor glanced at the third prince coldly before turning around and disappearing into the rift. Xianqing, take care of yourself. The 8 Desolation Demon Emperor said indifferently. He didn't stay any longer. His silhouette gradually dissipated as he left the Imperial City. Seeing the 2 Demon Emperors leave, Xianqing heaved a sigh of relief. Even though he had the Demon Emperor token to protect him, the pressure from the 2 emperors was still unbearable. Around the Crown Prince's residence, demonic chi surged and coiled, sealing off all escape routes. No one could enter or leave. Xianqing's demonic barrier didn't change much. He had already guessed that this would happen. This was good too, as it would save him a lot of unnecessary trouble. In front of the Crown Prince's residence, the Imperial army retreated one after another. The Demon Emperor had personally sealed off the Crown Prince's residence, so there was no need for them to stay any longer. Before they left, the 4 commanders of the Imperial army looked at the white-clothed Crown Prince in front of the Crown Prince's residence. Their eyes were filled with questions. So many things had happened in the past few days. Although the third Crown Prince had barely managed to protect himself, he had still brought great trouble to himself. Why had the third Crown Prince done these things? Was it just to attack the Crown Prince's power? The 4 commanders left with their questions. Now that the Imperial City was in chaos, they had many things to deal with and could not waste time here. On the streets of the Imperial City, Ningchen watched everything that happened in front of the third Crown Prince's residence in the distance. He smiled coldly and turned to leave. As expected, the 2 Demon Emperors failed to take Xianqing away. The third prince was able to stand firm in this cruel struggle for the throne. How could he be incompetent? Demonic chi was surging in the royal palace of Lord Juyo's mansion. After the farce in the Imperial City ended, Xian Juyo's figure faded and disappeared. In the Heavenly Devil Ancestral Land, the 7 Luminaries Devil Emperor and the 8 Desolation Devil Emperor's avatars had returned. Their auras were concealed in their bodies, and their pressure was gradually restrained. Imperial father, imperial uncle. Xianjun looked at the surging demonic qi in front of him and said in a low voice, "Are we just going to let the deaths of 5th brother and 12th brother go? If you can find evidence that Xianqing killed the princes, your imperial uncle and I can help you. If not, there is no need to say anything more." The 8 Desolation Demon Emperor's voice came from the depths of the ancestral land. A moment later, a powerful force spread out and sent Xianjun flying out of the ancestral land. Outside the ancestral land of the heavenly demons, Xianjun staggered and landed on the ground. His eyes were gloomy as he looked ahead. No matter what, he did not expect things to turn out like this. Now that 12th brother was dead, who could prove that 3rd brother was the murderer? Unable to suppress his anger, Xianjun clenched his fists. His nails pierced through his palms and blood dripped down. After a long time, Xianjun turned around and walked toward the imperial city. Since the 2 demon emperors could not help him, he could only use his own method to give them a taste of their own medicine. Boom! Thunder rumbled in the sky. After the thunder, heavy rain poured down and covered the entire world. It's raining. In the 3rd prince's residence, Shiqing ran into the hall with her head in her hands. She looked at the heavy rain and said anxiously, "His Highness did not bring an umbrella." Xiyu turned around and walked into the hall. She took an oil paper umbrella and quickly walked out of the hall. "Wait for me." Shiqing saw this and quickly ran into the hall. She took the umbrella and rushed into the heavy rain. On the streets of the imperial city, a white-haired figure walked forward. The heavy rain drenched his plain clothes. "Your Highness." In the rain, Xiyu quickly walked up and covered the figure with the umbrella. Seeing the two, Ningchen smiled and said, "Let's go back to the residence." The 3 of them walked forward and gradually disappeared in the rain. Boom! In the sky, lightning flashed across the sky. The lightning was dazzling and lit up the dark world. "Get ready to move." "Yes, Your Highness." Under the dark rain, black-robed figures half-knelt. Each of them was surrounded by demonic qi, and was abnormally powerful. In front of them, Xianjun looked at the darkening sky. The murderous intent in his eyes became clearer. In the imperial city, Xianemo looked back at the sky and frowned. What an ominous feeling. He felt that something was going to happen tonight. In the 13th prince's residence, night fell. Ningchen sat quietly in the hall. Under the light, a scroll was spread out on the table. It was a picturesque woman. "Sinew, wait a little longer." Ningchen looked at the woman in the painting and said gently, "1,000 years is not too long. Your husband is about to enter the mortal realm, and can live even longer. I can wait until you come back." But, then Ningchen looked at his white hair and smiled. "I'm old. When the time comes, you might not be able to recognize your husband." The flickering light shone on the woman in the painting. In front of the light, the plain-clothed figure looked the same as before. However, the white hair showed the ruthlessness of time. After 100 years, the white hair grew early. "Your Highness." Outside the hall, Xiyu walked in with a bowl of ginger soup and said, "Your Highness just caught a cold. Drink some ginger soup." Ningchen came back to his senses and looked at the woman in front of him. He nodded and said, "Thank you. Put it down. You and Shiqing should drink a bowl each to get rid of the cold." "Okay." Xiyu nodded and said, "I'll send it to Shiqing later." "Your Highness, drink it first. It won't have any effect when it gets cold." Ningchen smiled helplessly. He took the ginger soup and drank it in one gulp. Then he put the bowl back and said, "Okay, go. I'll take my leave." Xiyu bowed gracefully and turned to leave. In the backyard in a room, Shiqing was sitting on the bed in a daze. She would occasionally giggle. With a creak, the door opened. Xiyu walked in with the ginger soup. She looked at Shiqing and said, "Shiqing, drink some ginger soup." "Your Highness, have you drunk it?" Shiqing raised her head, looked at the former, and asked curiously. "Yes." Xiyu replied softly. "It's good to drink it." Shiqing smiled happily. She took the ginger soup and sipped it. Not long after, Shiqing finished the ginger soup and put the bowl down. She smiled and said, "Xiyu, what is your Highness doing?" "Looking at the portrait." Xiyu put away the bowl and replied, "Portrait? Shiqing asked curiously. Is it still that beautiful sister? Yes. Shiyu nodded and said. Shiqing looked envious and said, I don't know who that sister is to your highness. She makes your highness care so much. Shiyu shook her head and said, I don't know. Maybe she's your highness' sweetheart. Oh. Shiqing replied softly and said with a smile, I used to think that the Fox Clan Saintess was the most beautiful person in the world. Now I think your highness' sweetheart is the most beautiful. Okay, don't flatter. Your highness can't hear it. Shiyu smiled and said, Rest early. You've caught a cold. Don't kick off the quilt at night. Okay. Shiqing wrapped herself in the quilt and lay down. She closed her eyes and giggled inexplicably. Looking at the silly smile on the former's face, Shiyu didn't ask much. She went forward and blew out the candle flame and walked out of the room. In front of the room, Shiyu had just closed the door when suddenly, the ethereal sound of a zither came from the front hall. It was so unfamiliar. Shiyu was surprised. Your highness knows how to play the zither? Dong dong dong. On the streets of the imperial city, the sound of the night watch rang out. The third watch was the King of Hell's judgment. Everywhere in the imperial city, the sound of black clothes swept past. The scimitar was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, mercilessly harvesting lives. Giving him a taste of his own medicine, the heavenly demon crown prince, who was unable to restrain his anger, finally went to the extreme, killing with killing. Dong dong dong. The sound of the night watch spread throughout the imperial city. It was so loud that even the pouring rain couldn't cover it. In the front hall of the 13th prince's residence, a white-haired man in white clothes was playing the zither. The divine zither in front of him was aggressive. The white tiger divine artifact, the King of Hell, played again after 100 years. The faint sound of the zither spread out of the crown prince's residence and mixed with the sound of the rain. However, under the scimitar, the indistinct spirits looked in the direction of the 13th prince's residence with a blank expression. The sound of spirits falling to the ground and blood dyeing the ground red. The King of Hell's song sent off the spirits. In the north, in the sorcerer race's sacred land, Emperor Go looked at the third imperial city in the distance and said calmly, Tianxin, prepare to send out the troops. Yes. Tianxin bowed respectfully and received the order. In the third imperial city, the sound of the zither reverberated, mixed with the sound of the rain, making it difficult to hear clearly. Do it. In the 9th prince's residence, Xianke looked at the kneeling figures in front of him and said calmly, Yes. Dozens of figures received the order and disappeared in an instant. After the order was given, Xianke looked in the direction of the 13th prince's residence. 13th prince, this time, I will gamble with my life with you. Dong dong dong. In the middle of the night watch, the massacre in the imperial city broke out. Countless heads flew from the corpses, dyeing everything red. In the 13th prince's residence, a white-haired man in white clothes sat quietly. The King of Hell's song, the third watch, the King of Hell's song, the King of Hell's song. Chapter 1129. At night, the imperial city was filled with killing intent. Blood flowed through the rain and dyed the ground red. The darkness covered all evil. Blades and swords mercilessly reaped one life after another. Blood for blood. The enraged crown prince no longer concealed his sharp claws and counterattacked. The third crown prince's residence was sealed, and no news could get in. Without the third crown prince's orders, the third crown prince's faction was severely damaged in just one night. On the streets of the imperial city, the faint sound of a zither mixed with the sound of rain echoed. Save me! A sudden cry for help broke the silence of the night. The imperial army experts in the imperial city turned in shock to the source of the cry. Let's go! The leader of the imperial army and the second marshal of the imperial army came back to their senses and rushed forward. Behind them, a group of imperial army soldiers followed and rushed forward. At almost the same time, the same thing happened in other parts of the imperial city. The imperial army soldiers heard the cry and immediately moved out. Retreat! Seeing that they had been exposed, the men of sacrifice under the crown prince and the 9th prince quickly retreated without any hesitation. At this moment, the zither music in the 13th crown prince's residence also stopped. The imperial army soldiers rushed to the various residences. What entered their eyes was a piercing red. This rain came at the right time. Within the 13th Crown Prince's residence, Ningchen stood up and walked to the front of the hall. Looking at the pouring rain outside, a cold light flashed through his eyes. Everything was ready. Now, all that was left was for the flames of war to ignite. In the sacred mountain of the western sacred region, the lord of the 6th palace, Shama, sat cross-legged in the 6th palace. Shama. At this moment, a dignified voice rang out from the 6th palace. You're the best diviner in the sacred region. Can you see what's going to happen in the primal demon realm? War. Shama spoke calmly. The witch race and the celestial demon imperial family are about to start a war. The flames of war will quickly spread and even affect the entire primal demon realm. Is that so? The lord of the sacred region sighed. What's going to come will come in the end. War is unavoidable. I hope the sacred lord can make a decision soon. Shama indifferently said. I understand. At the top of the holy mountain, under the huge statue of the sun god, the lord of the holy region nodded slightly and looked to the east. At this time, the holy capital mountain and the stone tribe should have also received the news. In the north, the 12 shaman queens gathered in front of the central altar. Their powerful king auras caused the weather to change. Attack. On the altar, Go Huang spoke with a solemn expression. Yes. The 12 shamans bowed in unison before turning around and leaving. Chaos is the time for heroes to witness. On the divine capital mountain, a tall figure clad in dark red armor stood quietly, looking down at the world with extraordinary bravery. The lord of the gods' capital mountain, Yuluwu, was the absolute overlord of the eastern continent. He was a valiant warrior who was bestowed the title of emperor in the gods' capital. Father, are you really going to help the shaman race start a war? The holy son of the divine capital mountain said with a grave expression. The celestial devil royal family has ruled the primitive demon realm for too long. Now it's time for a change. Yuluwu looked into the distance and said faintly, get ready. Once the sorcerer tribe sends out their troops, the divine capital mountain will immediately send out our troops. Yes. The holy son of the divine capital mountain said respectfully. At the same time, in the stone race, the stone emperor looked at the changes in the primitive demon realm. After hesitating for a long time, he finally made up his mind. Get ready to attack. Yes. After the order was given, the stone emperor felt more relaxed. There was only one chance. If the 5 sovereign races couldn't end the celestial devil royal family's rule this time, they wouldn't have another chance in the future. Boom. In the 3 sovereign city, the sound of thunder filled the night sky. The rain was getting heavier and heavier. It was as if the heavens had predicted something. In the 13th Prince Palace, Shiyu came to the front of the palace with an umbrella. When she saw the white-haired figure in the palace, her heart felt heavy. His Highness gave her a completely different feeling than usual. That coldness that kept people 1,000 miles away was bone-chilling. In the palace, Ningchen saw the figure outside. He waved his hand and put away the king of hell on the table. He said calmly, Shiyu, it's late. Go and rest. Yes, your highness. Shiyu didn't dare to disobey. She walked back to the backyard. In the imperial palace, Ningchen walked to the front of the palace. Looking at the autumn rain that was getting heavier and heavier, his expression became colder and colder. After planning for so long, the war was finally about to begin. In the 9th Prince Palace, Xian Ke, who also didn't sleep last night, looked outside with a serious expression. Only by taking down the eldest prince and the 3rd prince could he have a chance to take the throne. The 13th prince didn't have the royal bloodline, and could never inherit the throne. So he trusted him this time. Senior Commander. In the palace in the heavy rain, the 4 commanders of the Imperial Guards all arrived. Looking at Xianmo in front of them, they said seriously, the Arsenal, Lord Ling's mansion, Wind Battalion, Shuntian Yard, and the 8th Prince's mansion were all attacked by assassins at night. They suffered heavy casualties, especially the 8th Prince's mansion. Almost everyone was killed. Hearing this, Xianmo's expression changed. How could this be? Lightning flashed across the night sky and lit up the entire 3 sovereign city. Looking from the sky, the imperial city that had changed so much in one night was covered in blood. The demon's plan turned the celestial devil imperial city into a purgatory. People's selfishness made the demon's plan even more terrifying. In the heavy rain, the white-clothed figure stood still. She was soaked by the rain. Looking at the godly land, her tired heart became strong again. Fan Lingyue, what is your dream? Peace in the world and prosperity for the people. In the past, when war broke out in northern Meng and horses trampled on the land of the Xia dynasty, Fan Lingyue said her wish. At that time, he thought she was crazy and mocked her. But today he walked the same path as her. He stopped war by killing and stopped war by fighting. He didn't know how many people would be sacrificed in this war. How many people would lose their homes and families, but he didn't regret it. He hoped that the world would be peaceful, and there would be no more wars in the future. Boom. In the sky, lightning flashed and echoed, as if mocking the hypocritical people below, just like how he mocked her 100 years ago. The long night gradually passed, and the sky brightened. The people who woke up from their dreams heard the clanking of armors on the street outside before they went out. What happened again? The people were shocked. Did something big happen last night again? Pushing open the door, they saw teams of soldiers marching on the street outside. This time, not only the imperial guards, but also the demon guards in front of the three emperors' palace were called over. The leader of the imperial guards, Xian Emo, was patrolling the city with a serious look on her face. The warehouse, Lord Ling's mansion, Tianfeng Battalion, Shuntian Yard and the 8th Prince's mansion were all blocked by the imperial guards. No one was allowed to enter or leave. In the 3rd Prince's mansion, Xianqing frowned when he saw the demon guards in the imperial city. Demon guards, what happened last night? Even the demon guards in front of the 3 emperors' palace were called into the imperial city. My lord. At this moment, the prince of Lord Ling's mansion, covered in blood, broke through all the obstacles and came to the 3rd Prince's mansion. However, before he reached the gate, he was caught by the demon guards behind him. The gate of the Crown Prince's mansion opened and Xianqing walked out. Seeing the prince of Lord Ling who was caught by the demon guards, his face changed. It was the prince of Lord Ling. What happened to him? My lord, something happened at the Lord Ling's mansion. The prince of Lord Ling struggled and said anxiously. However, the demon energy was surging outside the Crown Prince's mansion, cutting off all connections with the outside world. Xianqing looked at the prince of Lord Ling outside, but could not hear what he was saying. Take him away. A commander of the demon guards said coldly. Yes. 2 demon guards picked up the prince of Lord Ling and dragged him out of the Crown Prince's mansion. Outside the Crown Prince's mansion, Xianqing's face sank. Something big must have happened last night. Had Xianzhen started to take action? In front of the 13th Prince's mansion, the 9th Prince, Xianke, came with an umbrella and knocked on the closed gate. Shiqing opened the gate. In the hall, a fire was rising, driving away the coldness brought by the cold rain. Ningchen was boiling hot tea over the fire, concentrating as if he was doing something very important. Shiqing walked to the gate and opened it. Seeing the 9th Prince standing outside, she bowed to him respectfully. Where is his lord? Xianke looked at the beautiful maid in front of him and asked. His lord is waiting in the hall. Shiqing said respectfully. Xianke nodded and walked forward. In the hall, the tea was boiling and the aroma of the tea spread. Ningchen poured a cup of tea and pushed it to the prince of Lord Ling. 9th brother, have a cup of hot tea to warm yourself up. Xianke walked forward and sat down. Looking at the man in front of him, he frowned. You are still in the mood for tea at this moment? Why wouldn't I be in the mood? Ningchen raised his head and smiled. The ones who shouldn't be in the mood are the Crown Prince and the 3rd Prince. It has nothing to do with us. The Imperial Army has surrounded the Imperial City. It's too troublesome to go out. It's better to sit in the mansion and drink tea. Are you really not in a hurry? Xianke was puzzled. What's there to be in a hurry about? Ningchen picked up a cup of tea and took a sip. The tea is good. You can try it. Xianke frowned again. Suppressing the impatience in his heart, he picked up the cup and took a sip. I don't know much about tea. 13th brother, let's talk about business. Ningchen smiled and put down the teacup. Look at the current situation. The third prince is under house arrest, and almost half of his subordinates have been cut off. The crown prince has also suffered heavy losses after being severely injured a few days ago. More importantly, last night, the crown prince wanted to retaliate against the third prince, but because of you many important places of the royal family were destroyed. Even the eighth prince, who had been bedridden, died in the war. Tell me, do you think Xuanjin can shirk his responsibility? I understand, Xianke said in a deep voice. But it's too difficult to get rid of the two crown princes. Do we still need to do something? Of course. Ningchen smiled and said, a one-man show will be very boring. I think the crown prince will also be bored. Now the best way is to let the third crown prince know what happened in the imperial city. This way the show will be interesting. Xianke was silent. After a long time he nodded and said, I know what to do. Not long after, Xianke got up and left, disappearing in the rain. Throw it away, Ningchen said. Yes. Xiyu walked forward and picked up the teacup used by the ninth prince. Then, she walked out of the hall. Ningchen looked out of the hall, with a cold expression. Xianke was too suspicious. Soon, he would no longer trust him. However, he had achieved his goal. It was time to give up this chess piece. Chapter 1130. The third royal city was covered in dark clouds. After the heavy rain, the sky was still gloomy. The atmosphere was so oppressive that it was hard for people to breathe. The imperial army and demon guards could be seen everywhere in the city. The entire royal city was under martial law, and everyone had to go through strict checks. In just one night, several important places of the royal family were heavily damaged. One of the princes was assassinated and his entire family was killed. The third prince's forces suffered a heavy blow. Suddenly, everyone looked at the first prince's residence. What happened? In the first prince's residence, Xianzhen looked at the spy in front of him and asked coldly, reporting to your highness, there were other people besides us last night. The eighth highness died at the hands of these people. In front, a black-clothed figure respectfully replied, fishing in troubled waters. Xianzhen's expression turned cold. Can you find out where they came from? There are no clues so far, the black-clothed figure replied. Last night's heavy rain washed away all traces. When our people retreated, those people also left. Xianzhen looked at the royal city with a cold light in his eyes. There was no doubt that someone had predicted his actions and was prepared. This time he would definitely be blamed for the eighth prince's death. This was troublesome. Outside the crown prince's residence, Xian Emo rushed over with 4 teams of imperial army. She looked at the crown prince's residence with a grave expression. Please report to the first prince that Xian Emo requests an audience. In front of the residence, Xian Emo looked at the 2 guards in front of her and said, Commander, please wait for a moment. One of the guards replied and quickly walked into the crown prince's residence. Inside the crown prince's residence, Xianzhen stood quietly. The guard walked over and bowed respectfully. Your Highness, Commander Xian Emo requests an audience. Please come in, Xianzhen said calmly. Yes. The guard accepted the order and walked back in. In front of the residence, the guard walked up and said respectfully, Commander, His Highness invites you in. Thank you, Xian Emo said. She then looked at the imperial army behind her and said, Wait here. Don't move without my orders. Yes. The 4 teams of imperial army said in unison. Xian Emo turned around and walked into the crown prince's residence. In the residence, the destroyed main hall was still not repaired. Xianzhen stood in front and looked at the person who came in. Commander, how are you? Your Highness. Xian Emo bowed respectfully and said, This humble subject has come to inquire about something. Please speak, Grand Commander. Xianzhen replied. Your Highness, do you recognize this item? Xian Emo waved her hand and a black curved blade appeared. It was a cold blade that pierced one's mind. Black Moon Blade. Xianzhen narrowed his eyes and said, The weapons of my personal guards. This saber was found in the 8th prince's residence last night. Does your Highness have any explanation? Xian Emo asked seriously. Framing and framing, Xianzhen said indifferently. It's so obvious that the Grand Commander should be able to see through it. Your Highness, I can only do things according to the rules. Since this Black Moon blade appeared in the 8th Prince's possession, it will be difficult for your Highness to escape suspicion. Xianmo looked at the Crown Prince and said seriously, if your Highness can't give me a reasonable explanation, I can only offend you. Xianzhen's face darkened when he heard this. Commander, you don't have any evidence. Don't you think it's too much to pin the crime on me with just a saber? Grand brother, you're wrong. At this moment, a slightly sinister-looking noble figure walked into the Crown Prince's residence. His aura was extremely powerful and close to the King realm. Ninth brother. Xianzhen frowned. Why was he here? Greetings, Grand brother. Xianke walked up and bowed politely. Ninth brother. Why are you here? Xianzhen asked seriously. Grand brother, I'm in charge of the law and order of the Imperial City. I had no choice but to come and take a look when such a big thing happened. Xianke then looked at the black curved blade in Xianmo's hand and said, if I'm not wrong, this Black Moon blade should be the weapon of your personal guards. So what if it is? Xianzhen said in a deep voice. Although the forging method of the Black Moon blade is a secret of the Imperial family, it's not impossible to copy. Someone is framing and framing us. If you have time, you should find a way to find the culprit instead of wasting your time here. I'll find out who the culprit is. However, while I'm investigating, I'll have to trouble you not to leave the Crown Prince's residence, Xianke said calmly. Xianke's expression turned cold when he heard this. Ninth brother, do you mean to put me under house arrest? I wouldn't dare. Xianke said indifferently. I just hope that you'll cooperate with the investigation like third brother. At least, don't leave the residence before you're cleared of suspicion. On the side, Xianmo quietly looked at the two princes in front of him, a strange light flashing in his eyes. How come he didn't realize that the 9th prince had such a tough side? Xianke's performance today really made him look at him in a new light. Given the Crown Prince's status, the 9th prince dared to step into the Crown Prince's residence today. This was not something an ordinary person could do. Your Highness, this is your duty. Please don't make things difficult for me and the 9th prince. Xianmo calmed himself down and looked at the Crown Prince in front of him. Xianzhen frowned again. Even though he was the Crown Prince, he had to think carefully when faced with the threat of an Imperial Army commander and a prince with real power. While the atmosphere in the residence was tense, demonic chi surged in the air. An illusory figure appeared with a powerful aura. Crown Prince, receive the decree. The new messenger said in the air. Xianzhen immediately bowed respectfully. The Demon Emperor has decreed that Crown Prince Xianzhen is not to take half a step out of the residence. If he disobeys, he will be severely punished, the messenger said calmly. This subject receives the decree, Xianzhen said in a deep voice. He looked at the messenger in the air and said solemnly, Lord Messenger, please pass this message to the two demon emperors. Someone is deliberately framing us. I hope that the two demon emperors will investigate this matter. I will pass on His Highness's message. Farewell. As he spoke, the demonic chi in the air retracted. The messenger's figure faded and disappeared. In the Crown Prince's residence, Xianmo and Xianke recovered from their shock. They didn't stay any longer and left. They didn't expect the two demon emperors to receive the news so quickly. After the third Crown Prince, even the first Crown Prince was placed under house arrest. When they left the residence, Xianke's lips curled coldly. Next, as long as the first Crown Prince was convicted of harming the 8th Prince, even Xianzhen wouldn't be able to salvage the situation. After leaving the residence, Xianmo turned around and looked at the first Crown Prince's residence with a serious expression. Was it a coincidence? In just a few days, the two Crown Princes had been put under house arrest. This had never happened in the entire history of the Celestial Devil clan. While thinking, Xianmo's expression suddenly changed. She looked at the 9th prince. Today, the 9th prince's behavior was unusual. Xianmo's face became darker and darker. Was there someone behind all of this? If there was, then that person was too terrifying. In the 13th Crown Prince's residence, a white-haired figure stood quietly in front of the hall. In the back hall, Shiyu looked at the white-haired man in front of her. Her beautiful eyes gradually lost themselves. She and Shiqing had witnessed everything that had happened in the past few days. While they were shocked, they couldn't help but feel a bit of anticipation. She didn't care about how the imperial city had changed. She wanted to know how far His Highness could go. Could he topple the two crown princes by himself? Shiyu. Ningchen looked at the cloudy sky outside and said, "Actually, the outside world is very big. You two really don't need to be trapped in this small cage." Shiyu was puzzled. She didn't understand what Ningchen meant. Ningchen looked at the woman in the hall and said softly, "One day in the future, you will meet the right person. You will fall in love with him, and you will talk with him happily. You will tell him all the happy and unhappy things. You will cry seriously, laugh seriously, and live seriously. I hope that your life will be more real than it is now. Shiyu, leave." Tears appeared in Shiyu's eyes. She knelt and said, "Your Highness, this servant doesn't want to leave. Habits will always make people reluctant. However, trying a new life is what you and Shiqing should do." Ningchen sighed. "If one day I leave the Crown Prince's mansion, where will you and Shiqing go?" Shiyu's body trembled. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. His Highness was leaving. "You two have been with me for so long. I don't want you to be unhappy in the future. Shiyu, it's time to seriously think about what kind of life you want," Ningchen reminded her. Just as the imperial city was in chaos, the witch tribe in the north and the 12 witch empresses led the witch tribe's army south. After the witch tribe sent out their troops, the east, west, and central divine capital mountain, western divine region, and Shi tribe immediately responded. The 7 divine generals of divine capital mountain, the 12 palace lords of the divine region, and the 6 saint protectors of the Shi tribe all sent out their troops to attack the primeval demon realm. Not long after, the 4 royal families sent out their troops. In the purple scale abyss in the southern continent, a majestic voice rang out and spread throughout the royal family. "Send out the troops." Yes. 4 of the 8 kings of the scaled tribe accepted the order and led their troops north. The 5 royal families sent out their troops together. Everywhere in the primeval demon realm, the flames of war immediately ignited. Before anyone could react, the 5 royal families' troops had already entered the demon realm. In the 3 royal cities, the news of the 5 royal families invading the demon realm spread quickly. In less than a day, the whole world knew about it. In an instant, everyone, from the royal family to the commoners, was shocked. The 5 royal families had joined forces to attack the demon realm. How could this be? In the 13th prince's residence, Ningchen did not look too happy when he heard the news. After planning for so many days, the 4 royal families had finally sent out their troops. However, there was one clan that he still could not trust. That clan was the Scaled Tribe. The Scaled Tribe was the first to invade the inner world. Even the passage between the 2 realms was most likely opened by the Scaled Tribe. On the matter of attacking the outer world, the Scaled Tribe and the Sky Demonic Royal Family were undoubtedly on the same page. Therefore, he could not trust this clan. This was also the reason why he did not go to the Scaled Tribe despite persuading the 4 royal families. However, he did not tell the other 4 royal families about these concerns. The result he wanted was for the primeval demon realm to suffer great losses. Not only the Sky Demonic Royal Family, but also the 5 royal families. Chapter 1131. In the primordial demon realm, the 5 Imperials joined forces to attack. The flames of war quickly spread to every inch of the demon realm's border. No one had expected this to happen. The heavenly demons who had ruled the primordial demon realm for countless years were caught off guard. The army at the border was forced to retreat, and the demon realm was lost. In the northern territory of the primordial demon realm, the 12 shaman queens of the shaman race attacked together. No one could stop them. They conquered 10 cities in a day. At the same time, the armies of the sacred region, the divine capital mountain, and the scaled race attacked together from the east, west, and south. Everywhere they went, the land was scorched. The flames of war burned the world. Countless civilians lost their homes. A large number of refugees rushed to the 3 imperial cities. In the southeast, The 3 sacred protectors of the stone race led their army to attack the demon realm together with the 4 Imperials. With the 5 Imperials working together, the heavenly demons had lost half of their territory before they could recover. In the 3 Imperial cities, the 2 princes' internal strife hadn't been resolved yet. Everyone was in danger. When news of the war at the front lines spread, the entire Imperial city fell into chaos. The 5 great Imperial clans are truly audacious. A furious roar sounded in the heavenly demon ancestral land. Powerful demonic chi spread out, shocking everyone. Brother Kunyi isn't here, and the 2 princes are having an internal strife. It makes sense that the 5 Imperials would choose to attack now. Another powerful figure said calmly, "Since the 5 Imperials started the war, we don't have to find an excuse. Let's attack." A third figure opened his eyes and said coldly, "Brothers, who's willing to lead the army?" 7 luminaries and 8 desolation demon emperors asked amidst the powerful auras. "I'll go to the divine capital mountain." Among the princes of the royal family, a king with an unusually powerful cultivation base replied, "Third brother." 7 luminaries demon emperor nodded slightly and said, "We can rest assured with third brother on the eastern front." Perhaps the 100 races had forgotten that Xian Lai of the heavenly demon royal family used to be the most powerful palm strike in the demon realm. "I'll deal with the people of the sacred region in the west." After Xian Lai, another heavenly demon prince said and agreed to the mission. "I'll go to the north and south with 6th brother." The 5th heavenly demon prince said calmly. The 4 imperial princes agreed to set out, leaving only the Stone clan in the southeast. They were still lacking people to lead troops to stop them. All the celestial demon princes looked at the only prince who didn't express his opinion, waiting for a reply. "Since you all have missions, I will go to the Stone tribe." The 4th prince of the heavenly demon tribe said faintly when he saw everyone looking at him. "The best palm strike in the world, the best sword in the world. I'll be able to witness the brilliance of my brothers again." The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor said with a smile. "No one dares to claim the title of number 1 in the world." Xuanqi, the 4th heavenly demon prince, said calmly, "Besides, there's the sovereign Dao above the king realm. If you don't enter the sovereign Dao, your sword Dao will be incomplete. Even though you haven't become an imperial cultivator, your sword is invincible." The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor said with a smile. "Even old 8 and I don't dare to claim that we can escape unscathed from the 4th brother." "What about old 9? Did he say anything about the invasion?" asked the 4th heavenly demon prince, Xianqi. "9th brother doesn't like fighting. He probably won't interfere in this matter," answered the 8 desolation demon emperor. Xianqi fell silent, and didn't ask any more questions. Juya was the opponent he wanted to challenge the most in the entire imperial family. Unfortunately, Juya was never willing to accept his challenge. While the kings of the heavenly demon ancestral land were recovering, Ningchen was looking at the jade slip he had obtained from Xianqing in the 13th prince's residence. He pondered for a long time before he got up and walked out of the residence. The situation of the 5 imperial families was set. Before the final battle, there was nothing for him to do here. It was time for him to go to Qi Huang Island. He had already used the imperial laws that the Phoenix Master had given him. Now he lacked the power to fight against an imperial cultivator. If he could obtain the heavenly talisman, it would be very useful for him. Ningchen walked up to the 9 Underworld's king's residence. The guards in front of the residence bowed respectfully and didn't stop him. Within the imperial palace, Ningchen walked over, bowed respectfully and said, "Master, what's the matter?" Demonic chi surged in the palace as an illusory figure walked out. His domineering and powerful aura spread out. Heaven and earth prostrated before him. "I want to leave for a few days," said Ningchen softly. "Where are you going?" asked Xianjuyo calmly. "Qi Huang Island," said Ningchen honestly. Xianjuyo's eyes narrowed. "How did you know about this place?" "The 3rd prince told me," said Ningchen. "Xianqing." Xianjuyo frowned. "Qi Huang Island is far away from the sea. It's dangerous. Where are you going? What are you looking for?" "The heavenly talisman and opportunity," said Ningchen honestly. Ningchen said honestly, Master should know that disciple has lost his cultivation for a long time. If this continues, disciple may not be able to step into the fourth realm for the rest of my life. The Qihuang clan is a master of spells. Perhaps disciple can find an opportunity to recover his cultivation from there. Xianjuya was silent. After a while he nodded. Go. Be careful. Don't force it. Yes. Ningchen bowed respectfully. Without further delay, he turned and walked out of the palace. Take it with you. It might be able to help you at a critical moment. In the palace, Xianjuya waved his hand. 9 rays of light flew out and flew toward Ningchen. Xianjia 9 transformations, the heavenly demon imperial family's treasure. After being nurtured by the imperial power, it had successfully evolved into an imperial weapon. Its power was stronger than before. Thank you, Master. Ningchen stopped and took the Xianjia 9 transformations. He bowed again and left. In the 3 imperial cities, the imperial army came and went. The entire city was under martial law. Now that the war had started, everyone in the imperial city was anxious. There were riots from time to time. The imperial army's task was even heavier. In front of the city, when Ningchen was about to leave, the commander of the imperial army stopped him and said respectfully, 13th Prince, please wait. Ningchen stopped and looked at the 4th commander of the imperial army in front of him. He said calmly, I'm out to do something. Please make it easy for me. Then 9 rays of light appeared in Ningchen's hand. The powerful aura shocked everyone present. Seeing this, the 4th commander of the imperial army bowed respectfully and said, Your Highness, please. Thank you. Ningchen nodded to express his gratitude and stepped forward. When the 13th prince left the city, the 4th commander stood up and looked at the 13th prince's back. The 9 rays of light just now should be the legendary Xianjia 9 transformations. The demonic emperor's weapon was indeed powerful. Just one weapon was enough to make him feel so pressured. The demonic emperor's power was immeasurable. Not long after Ningchen left the imperial city, the demonic origins in the heavenly demon ancestral land opened one after another. The 5 heavenly demon lords sealed within appeared. Their terrifying demonic aura swept across the world. My 5 royal brothers, please. The 7 brilliance demon emperor said calmly from the depths of the ancestral land. The 5 heavenly demon lords nodded and didn't say anything. They stepped forward and left. In the primordial demon realm, a white-clothed figure walked past. He was so fast that it was hard to see him with the naked eye. Even though his cultivation was suppressed, the knowing destiny state's understanding of the laws of space was the best in the world. He could travel 100 miles in an instant. In the primordial demon realm, the white-clothed figure flashed several times and appeared a few thousand miles away. At the same time, in the 3 imperial cities, the 5 heavenly demon princes led the army of 500,000 to the 5 battlefields. A day later, demonic clouds appeared in the sky above the east, west, south, and southeast. A powerful heavenly demon prince walked out and stopped the invading army of the royal family. In the east, in front of the 4 divine generals of the divine capital mountain, the 3rd heavenly demon prince blocked their way. His powerful demonic aura shocked the generals of the divine capital mountain. You are Xianlai. Seeing the person blocking their way, the 4 divine generals looked serious. It was the #1 palm strike in the world that shocked the ancient times. Come, let me see how weak you are. Xianlai walked forward and looked at the 4 divine generals of the divine capital mountain. The 4 divine generals didn't say anything. They flashed and attacked together. The saber, the spear, the sword, and the halberd worked together and started the war. Good timing. Xianlai snorted. His palms were filled with destructive power. The palms that could shake the world appeared again after countless years. With a rumble, the palms shook the 4 divine generals. An earth-shattering power spread out rapidly. Ugh! The 4 divine generals grunted. The 4 divine generals' lips turned red. The power of the #1 palm strike in the world was unparalleled. When the battle in the east started, the 12 witch empress and the 4 kings of the scaled race were also blocked by the heavenly demon princes. The battle was in a stalemate. At the same time in the southeast, in front of the 3 saint protectors of the stone race, A purple-robed demonic cultivator walked over. He had an ancient sword in his hand. Before the sword was drawn, a terrifying sword aura swept over Xianqi. The three saint protectors of the stone race were shocked. It was him, the #1 sword in the world. Retreat, or I'll spare your lives. Xianqi looked at the three saint protectors of the stone race and said lightly, "We can't do it." The three saint protectors of the stone race came back to their senses and replied, "Stubborn." As soon as he said that, Xianqi moved. The demon sword Burning Heart was unsheathed. The #1 divine sword of the heavenly demon race appeared again. The sword pierced through the air and moved the world. The three saint protectors' expressions darkened. They worked together and used their natural stone bodies to block the #1 divine sword of the demon race. Ugh! Blood splashed. A broken arm flew into the air. The three saint protectors' right arm was cut off from the shoulder. Blood gushed out and dyed their battle clothes red. The four sides were in danger. While the two sides were in a stalemate, the second prince of the heavenly demon race was blocking the way on the western front of the original demon region. The atmosphere was heavy. The battle was about to break out. Among the 6 palace masters, the 3rd and 6th palace masters looked at the people in front of them. After a while, Sarah, the 6th palace master, stepped forward and said calmly, "I'll take this one." The 3rd palace master nodded and said, "Be careful. The princes of the heavenly demon race are not easy to deal with." "Understood," Sarah answered softly. She walked forward and opened her eyes. Her eyes were deep like the reincarnation cycle. She stared at the second prince of the heavenly demon race and said, "Please." Xianmie snorted coldly. He moved his palms. Demonic chi swirled out. The strength of a king-level warrior was fully displayed. 6 paths of reincarnation. Sarah clasped her hands together. In an instant, 6 huge whirlpools appeared in the battle. Hell, hungry ghost, beast, Azura, sky, and human. 6 worlds appeared and swallowed the heavenly demon prince in front. Chapter 1132. In the primordial demon region, the flames of war were everywhere. The 5 princes of the Sky Devil royal family entered the battle, and the situation was immediately reversed. In the east and southeast, Xianlai and Xianqi, who were once famous in ancient times, entered the battle. The 2 royal families of the divine capital mountain and the Stone Clan were immediately defeated. In the north and south, the 5th and 6th princes of the Sky Devil royal family fought against the 12 Witch Queen and the 4 kings of the Scale Clan. In the last battle, the 2nd prince of the Sky Devil royal family blocked the sacred army in the west. The lord of the 6th sacred palace entered the battle. Shama opened the 6 paths hell. Hungry ghost, beast, Azura, heaven and man. The 6 paths appeared and engulfed the demon kings in front. The 6 paths of reincarnation descended. Xianzhen's expression turned serious. He opened his hands and demonic waves surged. The extreme moves clashed, and the 6 paths of reincarnation collapsed one after another. The aftershock made Xianzhen groan and retreat a few steps. Xianzhen's expression darkened. He stomped on the ground, and the dust billowed. Sky Devil force. With an angry roar, undercurrents surged. Demonic chi surged around Xianzhen. Behind him, a giant Sky Devil shadow appeared. It was like a god or a demon. The 5,000-foot-tall demon body was indomitable. When it punched, it could split the sky. Open! Shama raised his hand, and golden light shone brightly. A golden light screen appeared and blocked the demonic might. The giant fist landed, and the earth rumbled. Between the two, the ground cracked, and a 10,000-mile-long ditch appeared. Dust billowed into the sky. In the intense battle, the lord of the 6th sacred palace stood still like a mountain. After the 2 extreme moves, golden light flashed. Shama moved first, and in the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the demon warrior. With a palm, golden light shone. The heavy palm hit Xianzhen's body, and Xianzhen retreated a few steps. Outside the battle, the other 5 lords of the sacred palace looked at the battle in front of them with strange expressions. Shama's strength was ranked in the top 2 even in the 12 palaces. His divine sense was especially powerful. No one below the imperial path could compare to him. If this second prince doesn't have any other tricks up his sleeve, his defeat is certain, the third palace lord said indifferently as he looked ahead. Before he finished speaking, Xianzhen let out a long roar. Endless demonic essence was released. Instantly, the murky undercurrent sublimated to the extreme. Everything within 10,000 miles instantly dimmed. The evil demon descended into the world, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Around Xianzhen, demonic shadows appeared one after another. A powerful pressure filled the air, frightening both humans and gods. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of demonic shadows rushed toward the sixth palace master. The undercurrent surged and forced the experts who were watching the battle outside to retreat. Demons wreak havoc in the world, and the heavenly Tao will not tolerate it. Sarah's expression turned cold. She opened her eyes and an unparalleled power of telekinesis erupted. In an instant, the wind and clouds froze and stopped moving forward. As soon as the anti-magic domain appeared, the tens of thousands of demonic shadows were immediately bound, unable to move. Break! With a light shout, golden light spread out from Shama's body. Within the anti-magic domain, the demonic shadows were rapidly swallowed up and dissipated. Your divine sense is not bad, but how can the light of a firefly compete with the brilliance of the moon? As she spoke, demonic chi surged in the battle. Xianzhen's eyes instantly turned blood red, and his cultivation increased by several times. He threw out a punch, causing an ear-piercing explosion. The entire space and time twisted, and cracks appeared. With a rumble, the heavy punch landed on Sarah's body. She was instantly sent flying several feet away, and the corner of her mouth was red. The celestial demon prince is indeed not easy to deal with. 10 feet away, Sarah stopped her body and raised her hand to wipe the blood from the corner of her mouth. She looked at the demonic cultivator in front of her, and her expression became serious for the first time. Moke crossing the world, reincarnation, heavenly rotation. Forced to the extreme, Sarah pinched her fingers and sat down cross-legged. Instantly, tens of thousands of feet of golden light rose to the extreme. A huge golden Buddha statue appeared behind her. The world sovereign chanted, and all demons retreated. Legend has it that Sarah is the reincarnation of Moke, one of the 10 great disciples of the Buddha. Thus, after cultivating to the king realm, she has a powerful divine sense that is rare even for emperors. When she attacks with her full power, she can even fight against emperors. In front of the sanctuary's palace lords, the third palace lord looked at the supreme of the world Dharma idol that had appeared in the battle, and said with a serious expression, "It's really hard to believe that this celestial demon prince could force Sarah to such a state." In the battle, the world's sovereign Dharma idol appeared, and sacred Buddhist energy spread out. The anti-demon domain filled with Buddhist might, dispelling all the demonic chi. In front of the Buddha Dharma idol, Xianzhen's expression sank. He raised his hands to the sky, and his demonic chi surged, pushing his cultivation to the limit. Celestial Demon 7 Transformations, Yu Tianqiang. With a furious roar, the demon Dharma idol appeared again, looking indomitable as it faced the world sovereign. The Buddha and the demon were in the sky, and the world changed color. Just as the outcome of the battle between the Buddha and the demon Dharma idol was about to be decided, a white-clothed figure sped by in the southeastern direction of the primordial demon region. In the southeastern territory, in the battlefield between the celestial demons and the Stone Clan, a sword cut through the sky. The unprecedented sword might could be felt clearly from tens of thousands of miles away. Ningchen stopped and looked at the demonic clouds that covered the sky in the distance. His eyes narrowed slightly. What a terrifying sword pressure! The celestial demon royal family's speed was shocking. Moreover, the cultivation of the person leading the army was at least at the peak of the king realm. Since he came to the primordial demon region, it was the first time he felt such a powerful sword pressure. In the legends of the primordial demon region, there was a sword genius in the celestial demon royal family in the ancient times. He traveled all over the primordial demon region and challenged the swordsmen of the 100 clans. He had never lost and was known as the #1 sword in the world. Since the 3 demon emperors could live to this age with the help of the demon source, the celestial demon princes could do the same. If he guessed correctly, The person blocking the Stone Clan's army was the #1 sword in the world, the 4th prince of the celestial demon royal family, Xianqi. He didn't expect that even this legendary figure would appear. It seemed that the celestial demon royal family also attached great importance to the invasion of the 5 royal families. After pondering for a moment, Ning Chun withdrew his thoughts. Without further delay, he took a step forward and continued forward. He didn't know how long the 5 royal families could last. He had to return before the final battle. To the southeast of the central continent, there was a boundless sea with no end in sight. 2 days later, Ning Chun arrived. Looking at the blue sea in front of him, he stopped again. According to the address on the jade slip given by Xianqing, Chihuang Island was above this sea. However, it wasn't easy to get there. The sea was vast and had a radius of more than 10,000 miles. Now that he had lost his cultivation and his ability to move was restricted, it was much more difficult. If he wanted to get there smoothly, he would have to put in a lot of effort. Thinking of this, Ning Chun looked back at the dense forest behind him. After thinking for a while, he walked forward. He unsheathed his sword and swung it. Towering trees fell down one by one. Ning Chun swung his sword and chopped off the branches and leaves of the trees. Then he carried the trees and walked out of the dense forest. In front of the sea, Ning Chun held up a huge tree with his right hand. He adjusted his breathing and threw it out. It was a shocking move. The huge tree was like an arrow piercing through the sky. It was so fast that it disappeared in an instant. After a while, Ning Chun took a step forward and chased after the tree at an even faster speed. The huge tree and Sui followed one after another. 5,000 miles away, the huge tree slowed down. Suyi's speed also slowed down. When Ning Chun was exhausted, he caught up with the huge tree in front of him. He took a step forward and traveled another 5,000 miles. He was as fast as the wind. In the blink of an eye, he traveled 10,000 miles. Ning Chun landed on an island and looked into the distance to confirm his direction. After observing for a while, Ning Chun threw out another huge tree. Then his figure flashed as he chased after Sui. 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles, 100,000 miles. From the rising sun to the setting sun, one person traveled on the wind and covered 10,000 miles in a day. The huge trees were quickly consumed, and Ning Chun was getting closer to Chihuang Island. Gradually, small islands appeared in the sea. They were lush with greenery. It was like a legendary fairyland. It was so beautiful that it was intoxicating. After traveling for another 10,000 miles, a huge floating island appeared in the distance. It was covered in clouds and mist. It seemed so close yet so far away. Ning Chun's eyes narrowed. He threw out the last huge tree and chased after it like lightning. When he got close to the floating island, the huge tree lost its momentum. Ning Chun took a step forward and flew towards the floating island in the sky. It was a shocking scene. Around the floating island, there were 4 huge chains that reached into the sky and pulled Chihuang Island. Ning Chun's figure quickly flew forward. With every mile he got closer, the huge pressure from Chihuang Island became clearer. It was like a sleeping emperor that couldn't be offended. The Chihuang ancestral land that was famous in the primordial demon region, tens of thousands of years ago, was once again visited by someone. When Ning Chun landed, he looked at the huge island in front of him with a serious expression. According to the jade slip that Xianqing gave him, there were many ferocious beasts that were above the mortal realm on Chihuang Island. Some of them were even at the king realm. They were extremely powerful. He had to be extra careful. According to the legends, Chihuang Island was built by the Chihuang clan's emperor. Since the Chihuang clan was exterminated, very few people came to Chihuang Island, and it was gradually forgotten by the world. In the sky, the sun set and the cold moon rose from the east. The night outside the ocean was even colder than in the 3 Emperor City. Frost was everywhere as if the entire world was frozen. His thin clothes couldn't protect him from the cold. However, the undying god tree's reforged body wasn't afraid of the cold anymore. Ning Chun walked on the desolate island and was cautious of the dangers around him. Hiss! Hiss! Suddenly, he felt a chill that penetrated his heart. It was as if he was being stared at by a ferocious beast. Ning Chun stopped and listened with a serious expression. The flying dragon snake flew past quickly. Its huge head was about to devour Ningchen. Ningchen frowned. He took a step forward and jumped, dodging the flying dragon snake's attack. In the sky, there was a familiar huge monster. It was almost the same as the phantom behind King Qi. The only difference was that the monster in front of him didn't have a pair of wings. It was obviously not a pure-blooded flying dragon snake. Hiss! Its prey had escaped. A dim light flashed in the flying dragon snake's eyes. It obviously didn't expect that the weak human in front of it could dodge its attack. I was worried that I wouldn't have a gift for King Qi when I return. Since you've taken the initiative to deliver it to me, it would be impolite for me to refuse. Ningchen said coldly. He clenched his right hand and a peerless divine weapon appeared in the air. His astral soul reappeared and illuminated the world. In an instant, a blood-red divine weapon pierced through the sky. In an instant, a waterfall of red splattered everywhere. Chapter 1133. On Qi Huang Island, the sword light slashed the flying serpent. A mournful cry resounded as half of the flying serpent's body was cut in half. Blood spurted out like rain. The stunning sword was invincible. The flying serpent was frightened. It ignored the fact that its lower body was cut off and tried to escape. Since you're here, you don't have to leave. Ningchen stopped and moved in a flash. His plain clothes flashed past, and a sword slashed across the sky. The bloody sword light slashed across the night sky. The flying serpent's pupils shrank as it roared in fear. It opened its mouth and spat out a ball of dim light that burned everything in its path. The sword Qi slashed the dim light apart. However, the dim light was not extinguished and continued to attack forward. Roar! The sword Qi slashed through the flying serpent's body and brought out another waterfall of red. Fresh blood splattered on the ground and dyed the ground red. On the other side, the dim light swept past. Wherever it passed, even the air was burned. Ningchen narrowed his eyes and made a grabbing motion with his left hand. A broken green cauldron appeared and blocked the dim demonic fire. You don't want a painful death and insist on being tortured. You really don't want to do things the hard way. Ningchen's expression turned cold. He waved his hand and kept the Star Soul Sword. Holding the green cauldron in his left hand, he moved forward in a flash. With a loud bang, the green cauldron smashed down with an earth-shattering might. The entire Qi Huang Island trembled. 10 miles away, a small mountain was affected. The mountain shook and cracked. In the battle, the flying serpent could not avoid the green cauldron's attack and was smashed to the ground. Roar! The mournful cry resounded for a few hundred miles. The flying serpent's body was covered in blood as it twisted its body violently. It was no longer as majestic as before. The law of the jungle was on full display on Qi Huang Island. Ningchen walked forward with the green cauldron in his hand. There was no pity on his face. He was clear that if it was not because he was stronger than the flying serpent, he would have become the flying serpent's food. On the ground, the flying serpent begged for mercy. However, the knowing destiny sword did not slow down at all. The star soul brilliance flashed past and pierced through the flying serpent's vital point mercilessly. The blood that gushed out reflected the coldness of the night. Ningchen waved his hand and the flying serpent's corpse into the green cauldron. In the next moment, the divine prohibition brilliance appeared and the green cauldron disappeared. Thank you for your gift, Ningchen said coldly and continued to move forward. Flying serpents were ancient beasts that were extremely rare. Although this flying serpent wasn't a pure-blooded one, it was still at the red dust realm. It wasn't too shabby to give it to King Qi as a gift. Under the moonlight, the white-clothed figure's white hair danced in the wind. After a great battle, there was not a speck of dust on her body. After stepping into the vast and boundless Qi Huang Island, Lin Yun had a deeper understanding of its boundless territory. Several hours had passed, but the scenery around him did not change much. Ningchen frowned slightly. He took a step forward and leaped up to the top of a mountain. Looking into the distance, it was difficult to see the end of the island. Qi Huang Island was shrouded by a strange law, blocking the vision and divine sense of those who entered. Boom! Just then, a furious thunderbolt fell from the sky and struck the knowing destiny state cultivators on the mountain peak. Ning Chen sensed something. His figure flashed, moving 100 zhang away. With a rumbling sound, furious lightning struck down from the mountain peak. The entire mountain shook violently as cracks spread and collapsed. Ning Chen took another step, dodging the falling boulders as he descended from the mountain peak. Boom! Before Ning Chen could stabilize himself, another furious thunderbolt descended from the sky. This time, it was even faster than before. Ning Chen raised his hand and used the spiritual gathering restriction. A strange light sword. Runes flickered above Ning Chen, blocking the thunderbolt. When the thunderbolt fell, the ground under Ning Chen's feet cracked. The cracks extended for thousands of kilometers. The spiritual gathering restriction blocked the thunderbolt. Amid the intense tremors, the thunderbolt's light scattered and disappeared. With the furious thunderbolts raining down, it was hard to identify the enemy. Ning Chen looked at the sky with a grave expression. The legendary thunderbolt from a clear sky was probably referring to this. Ning Chen had seen heavenly punishment more than once, and it was not this gentle. It looked like another monster had targeted him. Ning Chen's thoughts turned quickly, and his figure flashed out as he rushed forward. In the distance, a cold gaze stared at Ning Chen's figure in the night. Then the figure disappeared and did not attack. The predator in the night gave up on hunting for now, waiting for the best opportunity. After traveling 50 kilometers, Ning Chen slowed down. He looked at the deep valley before him, and became even more alert. The terrain here was really changing. Earlier, it was densely covered with forests. Now it had become such a deep valley. Ning Chen did not know if this was done on purpose by the Qi Huang clan's sovereign back then, or if it was caused by the changes in the world after the Qi Huang clan was exterminated. Time was precious. Without hesitation, Ning Chen jumped down and rushed toward the deep valley below. The valley was deep and thousands of meters tall. Ning Chen's body fell faster and faster, until he landed on the ground with a thud. The huge falling force could not be withstood by the mountain rocks. Under Ning Chen's feet, the rocks crumbled and cracks spread out. After falling thousands of meters, Ning Chen was not injured at all. The strength of his body was even stronger than metal and stone. Ning Chen straightened his body and walked forward. What's wrong? After walking 100 steps forward, Ning Chen suddenly stopped and asked. Something's not right here. My power is almost completely suppressed. Be careful. The demonic body warned in a deep voice. Ning Chen frowned. Before the celestial gate, the demonic body's aura was concealed by the divine restriction. He had luckily escaped the suppression of the celestial gate. Therefore, the demonic body still retained the cultivation of the celestial demon's sixth change. However, the power here could actually suppress the demonic body's cultivation. This was truly unexpected. Fortunately, he had lost his cultivation for a long time, and was already used to it. If he was caught off guard, he would definitely not be used to it. Boom! At this moment, another bolt of lightning descended from the sky. A terrifying might blasted open the night sky and descended into the deep valley. Ning Chen did not move. The divine restriction around him rose up, and protected his body. Roar! A huge figure appeared in the sky. It was the best time for a vicious beast to appear and fly down. A divine beast that can control gravity and lightning, the white tiger. Long time no see. As he spoke, a sword light shot out from below the lightning. A white-clothed figure shot out and arrived in the sky. The moon demon divine artifact was right in front of the white tiger. The moon demon divine artifact slashed down. Roar! The white tiger flapped its wings and clashed with the moon demon divine artifact with its sharp claws. As the divine artifacts clashed, an ear-piercing sound of friction was heard. The white tiger's body suddenly sank and fell from the sky. Caught off guard, the white tiger fell into the valley with a rumble. After a while, it crawled up in a sorry state and roared at the sky. Ning Chen's figure descended from the sky. The upside-down water in his hand shone brilliantly. You are not the only one who can control gravity. Ning Chen looked at the descendant of the white tiger in front of him, and said coldly. The white tiger was furious. It flapped its wings and rushed up again at an extremely fast speed. Its sharp claws swept past and destroyed everything in its path. The sharpness was deadly. In the distance, Mountains could not withstand the power of the sharp metal and collapsed silently. Ning Chen's eyes narrowed and his expression turned serious. The white tiger was one of the four symbols deities. The other vicious beasts could not compare to it. In terms of attack power, the white tiger was the only king among the four symbols deities. Boom! The sharp claws tore through the air. A green cauldron appeared in Ning Chen's left hand. The indestructible immortal artifact blocked the white tiger's sharp claws. Let's see if your claws are sharper or this green tortoise shell is tougher. Chapter 1134. On Chi Huang Island, the sound of divine weapons clashing was ear-piercing. The white tiger's sharp claws shook the heavens and the earth. A green cauldron appeared in front of Ning Chen. The rusty broken divine weapon clashed with the white tiger's sharp claws. Boom! The indestructible claws clashed with the white tiger's claws. The white tiger roared, commanding the heavens and the earth. In an instant, the wind and clouds in the 9 heavens changed. A thunderbolt struck down towards the human in front of it. Ning Chen snorted. The inverted water moon in his hand slashed upwards. The sword aura broke through the air, and the thunderbolt collapsed. The white tiger's attack was suppressed. It flapped its wings and retreated immediately. Its extraordinary battle instinct was shocking. Ning Chen squinted. The four symbols deities were indeed different from other ferocious beasts. Their battle intelligence was not inferior to humans. Just the descendant of the white tiger was so difficult to deal with. If the real white tiger deity was so powerful, how powerful would it be? Roar! Both sides faced each other. No one was in a hurry to attack. The white tiger roared softly, and was unusually cautious. There's a saying in my hometown. A barking dog doesn't bite. It seems like it's true. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Chen's figure flashed and appeared in front of the white tiger. The divine sword slashed past, and a strange light rose. The white tiger raised its claws to block the divine weapon. The divine weapon revealed its demonic power. The white tiger lost control of its body and flew into the sky. Roar! The white tiger roared and controlled gravity to stop its body forcefully. However, in the blink of an eye, the inverted water moon appeared again. The sword pierced towards the white tiger's spiritual altar. The white tiger opened its mouth, and a thunderbolt broke through the air and blasted towards the former. Get down! Ning Chen ignored it. The green cauldron in his hand smashed down. The thunderbolt dispersed with a boom and smashed onto the white tiger's head. The white tiger fell to the ground. In the deafening sound, a huge pit was formed on the ground below. Dust billowed and spread out for hundreds of feet. Ning Chen descended from the sky and walked towards the deep pit in front of him. Suddenly, the white tiger jumped out from the dust. Its sharp claws tore through the void and clawed at the human's chest. Ning Chen was prepared. He leaned to the side and swung the green cauldron in his hand. With a boom, he smashed it on the white tiger's body again. Bang! 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 The white tiger smashed down towering trees one after another, and flew hundreds of feet away. 1,000 feet away, the white tiger came to a halt in a sorry state. Its powerful mortal body had been struck again and again, but it still hadn't collapsed. In front of him, Ning Chen narrowed his eyes and looked at the white tiger who had stood up again. He put away his divine sword, and went forward again with the green cauldron. In the next moment, the sound of a violent collision was heard again. The green cauldron sent the white tiger flying. The mountain shook, and huge rocks fell from above. Its sharp claws were restrained, its lightning was ineffective, and its most powerful offensive weapon was completely suppressed. The white tiger attacked again and again, but in the end, it was sent flying without any suspense. Ning Chen didn't use his sword either. Instead, he used the broken cauldron in his hand to send the white tiger flying again and again. He didn't hold back at all. Streaks of blood appeared on the white tiger's body. Several of its ribs and spine had been broken. However, the pride of a descendant of the four symbols deities allowed the white tiger to stand up again and again. 100 years ago, I once fought with one of your ancestors. Compared to him, you are still far inferior. As he spoke, Ning Chen swung the green cauldron in his hand again. With a loud rumble, the white tiger was sent flying again. 1,000 feet away, the white tiger struggled to stand up. However, after several attempts, it failed and couldn't get up. 100 years ago, your ancestor was only a remnant soul, but he brought me a lot of trouble. As for you, you only have the bloodline of the 4 symbols deities, but you are weak and useless. Ningchen looked down at the white tiger who was lying on the ground and couldn't get up. He mocked. Roar. The white tiger roared in a low voice. Its severely injured body kept struggling, but most of its martial bones were broken. Its struggle was in vain. I have a guqin called Yama. It is the killing divine weapon of the white tiger deity. As he spoke, the divine guqin appeared in Ningchen's left hand. It was full of murderous aura, which was driving people crazy. I have a heart that originated from the demon emperor. It contains the imperial law, and is the only one in the world. As soon as he finished speaking, the demon heart appeared in Ningchen's right hand. The imperial law's aura swept out in all directions. I have a sword called Immortal Slaying. It can kill millions of people, and can kill deities. Ningchen waved his hand, and the immortal sword appeared, floating above the white tiger's head. He said coldly, "Now I will give you 2 choices. Submit, and the white tiger divine weapon, and the demon emperor's heart will be yours. Of course, you can choose to die rather than submit. This way, the immortal slaying sword in my hand can be stained with the blood of deities again." The white tiger's eyes were filled with fear. In front of death, any living creature would be afraid, and the descendants of deities were no exception. I will give you 3 seconds to think about it. 3, 2. As soon as he finished speaking, Ningchen held the sword, and his murderous aura overflowed. 1. As soon as he finished speaking, Ningchen's murderous aura burst out. Without hesitation, he slashed the immortal slaying sword. Roar. At this moment, the white tiger roared anxiously. It couldn't care less about its pride and lowered its head. An inch away, the immortal slaying sword stopped. Ningchen put away the sword and said indifferently, "You have made the wisest choice." The divine restriction gathered and turned into a stream of light that entered the white tiger's forehead. Ningchen looked at the descendant of the 4 symbols deities and said calmly, "I will give you 4 hours to recover. After 4 hours, we will depart together." As soon as he finished speaking, Ningchen walked to the side and waited quietly. The white tiger roared in a low voice. Since it had already come to this, it couldn't go back on its words. Rings of white light spread out from the white tiger's body and recovered its injuries. Time passed by slowly. The cold moon was moving towards the west, and the night was getting darker and darker. In the silent deep valley, no sound could be heard. It was so quiet that it was terrifying. Ningchen looked at the surroundings, and after a long time, he took a step forward and flew towards a towering tree in the distance. The deep valley was huge, and he still couldn't see the end of it even after 100 miles. Ningchen frowned. This Chi Huang Island was strange, and it seemed like it would be difficult to walk out after entering it. First it was the soaring serpent, and now it was the white tiger. The Chi Huang Island was like an independent small world. After countless years of evolution, countless terrifying existences had appeared. Xianqing reminded him not to step into the Chi Huang Island before reaching the King realm. Now, it seemed like he wasn't exaggerating. Now he had to be even more careful. Looking for the heavenly talisman was probably more difficult than he had imagined. The moon moved towards the west, and 4 hours passed by slowly. Ningchen took a step forward and flew down from the towering tree. He looked at the white tiger that had awakened and said, "Let's go. Let's leave this place." The white tiger roared in response and walked forward together with Ningchen. Just when Ningchen subdued the white tiger, a red sword light tore through the sky on the other side of the Chi Huang Island. Along with a shrill cry, a huge fiery red bird fell from the sky with blood gushing out from its body. The red-clothed figure descended, and his familiar face became even colder. Vermilion bird, it's enough that there's only one person in this world. The red-clothed man raised his hand, and a suction force devoured the vermilion bird's demonic energy. After 1,000 days, the descendants of the azure dragon, vermilion bird, and black tortoise that had evolved naturally over countless years on the Chi Huang Island were all killed. Their strength returned to him, and the aura around the red-clothed man grew stronger. He faintly showed signs of breaking into the king realm. In the west, the vermilion bird looked into the distance. Without further delay, it flew away quickly. There was still the white tiger. As long as he could obtain the white tiger's power, he would gather all the power of the four symbols. By then, he would definitely be able to break through his current realm and step into the king realm in the shortest time possible. In different directions, the two people with similar faces were like flowers in a mirror and the moon in the water. The phoenix and the vermilion bird were the gods of fire from different eras. They were destined to be unable to coexist. The two people walking opposite each other had the same face, the same sword technique, and even the same voice. The phoenix fell, and the vermilion bird rose. In the west of the Qi Huang Island, Ningchen led the white tiger forward. In the eastern sky, the morning sun shone, dispelling the coldness of the night. The man and the tiger walked faster and faster. In front of them, Su Yi's figure flickered. Her speed was so fast that it made people's hearts palpitate. The white tiger flapped its wings to catch up. A white light flashed past, but it still couldn't catch up. Among the four symbols, the white tiger and the vermilion bird had wings and were known for their speed. However, they were still slightly inferior to the knowing destiny state cultivators who had mastered the laws of time and space. After traveling for another 500 kilometers, Sui stopped. There were thousands of tombstones in front of her, forming a huge sea of tombstones. In the war that had lasted for tens of thousands of years, the Qi Huang tribe fought against the world. Countless people died in battle, and heroes were buried, forming a shocking sea of tombstones. Ningchen walked past the tombstones. Many of them didn't even have names. However, the people buried under each tombstone were undoubtedly warriors who bravely defended their home. The white tiger walked at the back, its footsteps much lighter. Its spiritual nature made it understand that this place was not to be desecrated. When they reached the sea of tombstones, a huge stone tomb appeared in front of them. It was like a palace in the mortal world, with layers of buildings that stretched endlessly. After tens of thousands of years, the stone tomb was already covered in moss. Ningchen stepped forward. After thinking for a while, he walked in. The door of the stone tomb had already been destroyed. Clearly, someone had been here before him. The Qi Huang tribe's inheritance was rare in the mortal world. It was not strange for someone to come here to seek fate. The light in the stone tomb was dim, almost impossible to see. Ningchen took out a luminous pearl to illuminate the path ahead. The white tiger looked curiously at the pearl in Ningchen's hand. Interest appeared in its eyes. It secretly noted it down and did not make a sound. Ningchen did not notice the white tiger's abnormality. The divine restriction in the white tiger's forehead would only alert it when the white tiger resisted. At other times, there would be no change. The stone tomb was huge. After walking for a long time, the man and the tiger were still walking in circles. It was difficult to see anything out of the ordinary. Suddenly, a chilly wind blew from the front. The white tiger's white fur immediately stood up. It stared fiercely in front, ready to attack at any time. Don't be nervous. It's the Yin spirits. Ningchen looked at the white figures floating in front of him. He had seen the Yin spirits more than once. They were not much of a threat, but the reason why they were formed was a mystery. The white tiger opened its mouth and a bolt of lightning shot out. Instantly, dozens of Yin spirits were purified. Not even ashes were left. Ningchen ignored it and continued forward. The Yin spirits just now were not formed after the 100 races died. They were from the human race. In that case, humans had come to this stone tomb before. In fact, humans had been buried in this stone tomb before. Could the Qi Huang tribe be humans too? Then what was the real reason why the 100 races destroyed the Qi Huang tribe? Could it be, as Xianqing said, that the Qi Huang tribe used curses to bring disaster to the world and caused the 100 races to be angry? Chapter 1135. It had been several hours since Ningchen and the white tiger entered the dark and damp stone tomb on Qi Huang Island. Yin spirits appeared in the depths of the stone tomb. The Yin qi was bone-piercing, making one feel extremely uncomfortable. The white tiger spat out a bolt of lightning, purifying all the Yin spirits. As the descendant of the four symbols deities, it hated these ominous things. Ningchen looked ahead. Thoughts flashed through his mind as he continued to walk forward. The white tiger followed him cautiously. Its divine sense was on guard, and it was extremely careful. A man and a tiger walked forward quickly. The deeper they went into the stone tomb, the more oppressive the yin qi became. Ningchen's expression gradually turned serious. This pressure was not right. Normally, after a living being died, even if they turned into a ghost, their strength would be much weaker than when they were alive. The pressure in front of him was at least above the mortal realm, or even the king realm. Such a powerful ghost must have been a terrifying existence when it was alive. Behind them, the white tiger also felt the pressure from the depths of the stone tomb. It growled and became more anxious. Roar. Suddenly, an earth-shattering roar resounded through the world. The space in the stone tomb began to shake, unable to withstand the violent vibration. Roar. Hearing the roar from the stone tomb, the white tiger's eyes were filled with anger. It also roared in response to the existence in the depths of the stone tomb. Don't be noisy. Ningchen turned around and scolded softly. Then, he looked to the front and a look of contemplation flashed across his eyes. Wu. Being scolded by its master, the white tiger whimpered and did not dare to make another sound. In front, Ningchen thought for a long time and did not rush forward. It was not the first time he had seen such a situation. There was most likely an ominous existence in front of him. After a living being died, it was almost impossible to be resurrected. He knew this better than anyone else. He could not figure out how those ominous beings were able to obtain life. Thinking of this, Ningchen collected his thoughts and continued to walk forward. Since he had nothing to do, he might as well figure this out. Behind him, the white tiger followed quietly. There was still a look of grievance in its eyes. After an hour, the scene in front of them changed. A huge blood pool appeared in front of them. After 10,000 years, the blood pool had dried up. Around the blood pool, there were thousands of runes carved on it. Many of them were damaged. Time was merciless, erasing all the spiritual qi in the runes. Ningchen went up and looked at the runes carved around the blood pool. He memorized the changes of the runes in his heart. The Qihuang clan was famous for their incantation techniques. Although the spiritual energy in these runes had dissipated, it did not mean that these runes were useless. There were tens of thousands of ever-changing runes. Even though Ningchen's intelligence was far superior to that of ordinary people, he still spent nearly 4 hours before he could barely memorize the runes around the blood pool. At the side, the white tiger had been waiting impatiently for a long time, but it did not dare to rush him. It could only lie there in boredom and scratch the ground with its claws to pass the time. 4 hours later, Ningchen memorized the last rune. Then, he closed his eyes and gently knocked his dizzy head. Then he let out a long breath. Remembering things like this was not something a human could do. If he did it again, his head would definitely explode. Boom! As Ningchen was resting, the ground around the blood pool began to shake. Countless runes began to awaken on their own, crazily absorbing the world's spiritual energy and lighting up once more. Ningchen sensed something and opened his eyes. He looked at the blood pool in front of him and was shocked. What was going on? Not far away, under the white tiger's claws, a stone slab had caved in. The white tiger stood there in confusion, not knowing what to do. What are you standing there for? Let's go. Ningchen's face was filled with anger. He shouted and immediately moved away from the blood pool. Hearing this, the white tiger immediately regained its senses. It flapped its wings and followed. Boom! Above the two of them, huge rocks fell down, filling their eyes with dust and blocking their path. Ningchen waved his hand and his astral soul appeared. With a slash of his sword, the huge rocks shattered. Let's go! Ningchen took a step forward and continued to rush forward. Bang! At this moment, a violent tremor sounded behind him. The white tiger was sent flying and smashed into the wall. Ningchen turned around and his pupils shrank. He saw that in the blood pool, blood was surging violently and a huge blood dragon had appeared. It was a shocking sight. The awakened runes reappeared and the blood dragon came back to life. It directly swung its tail and sent the white tiger flying. Its aura was close to the king realm. Even though it had been tens of thousands of years, it was still shockingly powerful. In the distance, the white tiger got up from the rubble and looked at the blood dragon cautiously. "I'll leave it to you." Ningchen glanced at the white tiger and said. He didn't have any intention of helping. The white tiger let out a low roar in response. Then, it flapped its wings and rushed forward. On the blood pool, the dragon and tiger were fighting. The white tiger's claws tore through the air and tore the blood dragon's body apart. However, the blood dragon was formed from the blood pool and couldn't be harmed by weapons. Its torn body quickly recovered and it swung its tail, sending the white tiger flying again. The stone wall collapsed and buried the white tiger. Dust billowed and blocked the white tiger's vision. Outside the battlefield, Ningchen looked at the battle and narrowed his eyes. The Qihuang clan's technique wasn't that easy to deal with. Fortunately, he didn't rush forward recklessly. Under the collapsed stone wall, the white tiger got up again and stared fiercely at the blood dragon. This time, it was even more cautious. In the sky above the blood pool, as the runes awakened, the surrounding heaven and earth spirit qi rushed over. The blood dragon's aura became stronger and stronger, and it could break through to the king realm at any time. The white tiger noticed this and didn't dare to hesitate. It charged forward bravely. The dragon and tiger fought again. Their cultivations were almost the same, and the two divine beasts fought fiercely again. The roars of the tiger and the dragon resounded through the stone tomb. The dragon's claws tore through the blood dragon's body, but it quickly recovered. The dragon's tail smashed down, and the white tiger quickly dodged. It didn't dare to use its body to take the attack. "Master!" At this moment, demonic qi surged out from Ningchen's body. The thousands of demons hidden in the soul-suppressing banner reminded him. There's a dragon soul mark sealed in the blood pool. As long as the dragon soul isn't destroyed, the blood dragon can't die. Ningchen nodded. He saw the abnormality and fell into deep thought. With Master's strength, it's not difficult to destroy the dragon soul mark. Why haven't you done it yet? A demon asked in confusion. It's easy to destroy the dragon soul. However, I'm wondering if I can use the talisman to give you a physical body like the Qihuang race. Ningchen replied. The thousands of demons were excited when they heard this. They surrounded knowing destiny and rushed out. "Master, is there really a way?" The demons asked excitedly. They had lost their physical bodies for a long time, and it was difficult for them to survive without external help. If they could have a physical body, they wouldn't have to hide in the soul-suppressing banner. Yes. Ningchen nodded and said indifferently, "Since the Qihuang race can do it, I can do it too." "Thank you, Master." The thousands of demons bowed and thanked him. "Come back first. After I'm done with the matters here, I'll find a way to create a physical body for all of you," Ningchen said calmly. Yes. The thousands of demons accepted the order and returned to the soul-suppressing banner. In front of the blood pool, Ningchen's figure flashed and appeared in front of the blood dragon. His sword intent condensed, and he slashed the dragon's head. The moment the sword slashed open the dragon's head, the blood pool below surged up and accelerated the blood dragon's recovery. However, Ningchen did not give the blood dragon any time to recover. He took a step forward and grabbed the dragon's soul imprint in the dragon's head. At the same time, the Dragon Emperor sword on Ningchen's right arm sensed it and quickly recovered. Golden light spread out and devoured the dragon's soul imprint. In the blink of an eye, the battle was over. It was so fast that no one could recover from it. Not far away, the white tiger stood in the void. It was stunned and couldn't react for a moment. The Dragon Emperor sword on Ningchen's right arm recovered a little after devouring the dragon's soul imprint. However, it was still far from its peak. A few breaths later, the Dragon Emperor sword gradually fell into a deep slumber. After the dragon's soul was devoured, the blood pool quickly dissipated. The runes around the blood pool dimmed, and the spiritual energy dissipated. Ningchen looked at the Dragon Emperor sword imprint on his arm and frowned. This sword's appetite wasn't small. If he wanted to use this sword in the future, he would have to spend some effort. In this world, the dragon race had already perished, and it wasn't easy to replenish the dragon aura for the Dragon Emperor sword. But even if it wasn't easy, he still had to find a way. He had personally witnessed the power of the Dragon Emperor sword in the Dragon Mountain. If he could recover the Dragon Emperor sword, it would be a powerful trump card for him. He knew that the enemies he and the human race would have to face in the future would be experts at the level of the Mysterious Fantasy sect, the 7 Luminaries sect, and the 8 Desolaces sect. If he didn't have a corresponding trump card, it wouldn't be easy to survive, let alone fight against the enemy. Ning Chen's thoughts flashed through his mind. He looked at the white tiger behind him and said calmly, "Let's go." After saying that, Ning Chen didn't delay any longer, and continued to walk forward. The white tiger followed behind him. With the lesson just now, it didn't dare to touch anything in the stone tomb. Outside the stone tomb, the morning sun rose from the east and shone down, illuminating the floating Chi Huang Island. In the west of Chi Huang Island, a red stream of light pierced through the sky. The vermilion bird appeared and looked down at the deep valley that was mostly destroyed. There were traces of the white tiger, but it seemed like someone had gotten there first. Someone actually came to this place? The vermilion bird turned around and looked at the depths of Chi Huang Island. It spread its wings and flew away. In the stone tomb, a man and a tiger continued to walk forward and gradually reached the deepest part of the stone tomb. In the dim path ahead, skeletons appeared one after another. Over the years, the white bones had started to turn into stone. Human race. Looking at the skeletons in front, Ning Chen frowned. It was indeed a human. Roar! In front, a cold wind blew violently and a deafening roar sounded as if it was warning the intruder. The white tiger was frightened. It stared at the depths of the stone tomb with vigilance. If a fight breaks out later, you're responsible for holding him back. You're not allowed to do anything else. Understand? Ning Chen looked at the white tiger behind him and said, "Roar." The white tiger nodded and agreed unwillingly. "If you do well, I'll reward you," Ning Chen said with satisfaction, and continued to walk forward. Longevity had always been a taboo. Although such an ominous item couldn't be said to be able to revive the dead, the way it existed was already a miracle. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.